Mr. President, council members, and participants, we are now live.
Thank you, and good morning. We're going to get started. But before we begin the council session today, I'd like to make the following announcement. Due to the continuing threat to public health from COVID-19, City Council is currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make this remote meeting possible. Instructions for how the public may view the meeting and offer public comment are included in the stated meeting notice that was published in the Daily News, the Inquirer, and the Legal Intelligencer prior to the meeting, and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. I now note that the hour has come. I want to ask the clerk, please call the roll to take attendance, and members, say a couple of words to make sure that your image is displayed on the screen. Mr. Decker, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues, and the City of Philadelphia.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilman Dom.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman Driscoll.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues. Present.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gauthier.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues in Philadelphia. Present.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I am present, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers who are members of Philadelphia City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the city of brotherly love and sisterly effectiveness and fatherly advice.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Gim.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman Johnson.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Sending prayers out to all the young people who have lost loved ones to senseless gun violence.
Good morning.
Councilman Jones.
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilman O.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilman O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Parker.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Guillermo Sanchez.
Good morning, Council President, colleagues, and our new colleague, Council Member Driscoll. Welcome.
Good morning.
Councilman Squilla.
Good morning, President and colleagues. I am present.
Good morning.
Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the citizens of Philadelphia. I'm present.
Good morning.
Council President Clark.
And good morning to all. We've established quorum. We now come to order. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Bishop Luke of St. Nicholas Ukrainian Orthodox Cathedral. He is here today as a guest of Councilman O. I would ask all members and guests to please bow your head for the invocation. Bishop.
Thank you. Good morning, Council President Clark, members of the City Council, brothers and sisters in the city of Philadelphia. I am Bishop of Philadelphia Luke, rector of St. Nicholas Orthodox Cathedral, Ukraine Orthodox Church, Kyiv Patriarchate, located in Northern Liberties. Today, Thursday, June 16, 2022, at this meeting of the esteemed members of the Philadelphia City Council, I am honored to give the invocation. I thank Councilman David O. for the invitation to be here with you this morning. Let us bow our heads now as we pray to the Lord. For this wonderful country, the United States of America, for our President Joe Biden, for our armed forces everywhere, and for all those in civil authority. In memory of the founding fathers and all those who gave their lives for our freedom. For all those in the world today, especially the suffering people in Ukraine, government, president, Ukrainian army, who are fighting for the freedoms we enjoy every day in the world. For this beautiful city of Philadelphia, and for every city and country, and for the faithful dwelling in them. For you, the members of the Philadelphia City Council, let us pray to the Lord for his mercy, guidance, and grace. Apostle Paul writes in the Romans chapter 8, verse 28. We know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. So we pray for you and trusted city council members as representatives of the people of the city of Philadelphia, that the Lord continue to grant you wisdom, honesty, integrity, empathy, confidence, the ability to work together, and joy in fulfilling the mission before you today. Let us pray to the Lord and give thanks for his mercy endures forever. God bless you all. God bless America. Slava Ukraini. Amen. Thank you.
Chair, thanks to Bishop for his invocation. Thank you so much, Bishop. We really appreciate you being here today.
God bless. Thank you. Good luck.
And the next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, June 9th, 2022. And the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal and the meeting of Thursday, June 9th, 2022 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, June 9th, 2022 stand approved. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and our journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair, thanks to Councilwoman. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion concerning certain legislative matters that may arise during the course of today's session of council and that were not listed on the calendar circulated prior to today's session. Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that any of the following matters, if considered today, may be added to the agenda for this session of council and, as required by law, subsequently published on an amended agenda after the consideration of those matters. Resolutions authorizing hearings, amendments to bills on first reading, the reconsideration of a bill vetoed by or recalled from the mayor, resolutions taking substantive action to be voted on in this session, a motion to withdraw a bill or resolution that is not on the calendar, and a motion placing a bill or resolution on or returning a bill or resolution from the suspension calendar that is not listed on today's calendar. The purpose of this motion is to provide the public with notice concerning the possible actions by council that arose too late to be included on the calendar that was published prior to today's session.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the legislative matters stated by Councilwoman Parker may be added to the agenda for today. Should those matters arise during the course of this session of council, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Brooks.
Thank you, Council President. I need to be excused for important council business, and I would like to be recorded as voting aye on all bills.
And resolutions also, Councilwoman?
Bills and resolutions, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Leave shall be granted. Let the record reflect. Thank you. Our next order of business is communications, And the clerk will please read the messages from the mayor and any other communication that he may have in his possession.
From the mayor to the president and members of the council of the city of Philadelphia, pursuant to sections 4604 and 2307 of the Home Rule Charter, and today transmitting to the council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill numbers 220414, 220417, and 220419, and bill numbers 200118, 220358, 220418, 220445, 220446, 220447, 220448, 220450, 220451, 220452, 220454, 220456, 220457, 220458, 220459, 220489, 220490, 220492, 220494, 220,500, 220512, 220513, 220517, 220519, 220522, 220525, and 220528. And I'm transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to amend resolution number 210975 to dispose of 2148, 2150, 2154, and 2156 East Birch Street, 2032 East Lehigh Avenue, 2055, 2057 East Rush Street, 2154, 2155, 2156, 2157, 2158, 2159, 2160, 2161 East Stella Street, located in the 1st Councilmanic District. And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract and the ground lease agreement of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the South Central urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 614 through 626 South 13th Street, including 1306 through 1310 Cater Street and 1309 through 1313 Bainbridge Street. And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Mantua urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 3618 Wallace Street, and authorizing the redevelopment authority to execute the redevelopment contract with 3600 Haverford Avenue. Affordable Partners. And a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 1st Councilmanic District. And a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to amend resolution number 210976 to dispose of 1739 1919 South 6th Street. And a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 2nd Councilmanic District. And a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 5th Councilmanic District. And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Eastwick urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 2604 Island Avenue. And a resolution approving the 14th Amendment to the redevelopment agreement of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the University City Unit 3 urban renewal area identified as parcel number 13A and parcel number 13C. And an ordinance amending Title IV of the Philadelphia Code entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code by adopting the 2000 edition of the International Residential Code as published by the International Code Council, including maintenance of previously adopted amendments to the 2015 International Residential Code as adopted under the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code Act, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. That concludes our communications. And our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions. And by way of a reminder, we are asking that all resolutions, including privilege resolutions, be placed on the final passage calendar for the next session of council, unless they're being referred to committee. In our current remote environment, this procedure will provide the appropriate opportunity for public comment. I would like to thank you in advance for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, please read the titles of the legislation being offered today by the members.
Councilwoman Parker offers 5 resolutions. On behalf of Council President Clark, a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority. Deeds conveying fee simple title to certain city on lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 5th Councilmanic District.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Council. Go ahead, Mr. Decker. I'm sorry.
And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the model city's urban renewal area, identified by house numbers and street addresses as 1535 North 33rd Street, 1601 North 33rd Street, 1603 North 33rd Street, 1605 North 33rd Street, 1607 North 33rd Street, 1301 through 3201 through 3207 West Oxford Street, 3216 West Oxford Street, and 3225 through 3221 West Oxford Street.
That'll be on next week's calendar, along with the previously read resolution also.
And on her own behalf, Councilwoman Parker offers a resolution adding the Honorable Congressman Dwight Evans to the street signs on the 7100 block of Ogons Avenue in honor of his decades of service to the people of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution calling on the city of Philadelphia to establish a committee to plan and host athletic events for historically black colleges and universities in Philadelphia with the goal of establishing an annual Philadelphia-based HBCU Classic. Mr. President, Councilwoman Parker will be recognized on this resolution.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I know where I will be on September 17th, 2022. I will be at the MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, or I'll be home and I'll be watching on television live at 3 p.m. the newly revived and inaugural New York City HBCU Classic. And it will be featuring Howard University and Morehouse with a halftime show that will display a drumline spectacular and a battle of the bands. Now, for members of the viewing audience who are listening, I want you to know that as a proud graduate of Lincoln University, I was extremely happy that New York City was capitalizing on this opportunity to showcase HBCUs. But a question came to mind, Mr. President, and that was, why not Philly? Why can't we host a historically black college and university classic that features not only football, but basketball? And then, Mr. President, after I heard what was happening in New York City, I took a stroll through our Philadelphia history and learned that in 1921, Philadelphia hosted the Howard and Lincoln teams classic actually on Thanksgiving Day. With that being said, Mr. President, we have two historically black colleges and universities in Pennsylvania that our new colleague, Councilmember Driscoll, knows well. One is a state institution, that's Cheney, and the other is a state-related, which is Lincoln universities. There is no reason why we in the city of Philadelphia can't use the hosting and establishment of an HBCU Classic as something that we pursue as an innovative effort to add value to our city's economy and to showcase HBCUs as an option to Philadelphia residents. With that being said, the resolution that I've introduced today calls on this city's administration to establish a committee that would be responsible for planning and fundraising for a Philly HBCU Classic. It would include the Philadelphia Convention Center and Visitors Bureau, along with Visit Philly. In addition to that, Mr. President, with all of the challenges that our city is facing, if we know that there is one thing we need to be doing, that is growing our economic pie and coming up with innovative strategies that are fun, and aside from being fun, that they will add to our economy, there is nothing but a plus for our city. So to all historically black college and university alumni associations, associations who may be watching, to members of our Divine Nine Pan-Hellenic Council members who may be watching. If you are interested in joining the team to advocate for the creation of a Philly HBCU Classic for both football and basketball, please email me at sherelle.parker@phila.gov or email me through the City Council of Philadelphia's website, or call 215-686-2064 or 2065. Our staff is waiting. We already have a list. We'll be doing the HBCU Classic meetup this summer, but we needed to make this announcement and introduce this resolution so we are advocating in a much broader context. Thank you, Mr. President, and a special thank you to all of my colleagues for supporting this resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman. That will be on next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Parker offers a resolution adding Thurgood M. Matthews Esquire to the street signs on the 1000 block of Chelton Avenue in honor of his fierce advocacy on behalf of his clients, leadership in the courtroom, investment in his local community, and service to the people of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gim offers with Councilman Thomas a resolution honoring Philadelphia playwright, actor, director, and educator James Imes, whose play Fat Ham was named the 2022 Pulitzer Prize winner for Best Drama, and whose work has brought a brilliant, joyful, and poignant voice for Black and queer America to the stage.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Thomas offers a resolution honoring and congratulating Champion of the Week, 9-year-old kidpreneur Assel Greer, on being the youngest author in the city of Philadelphia while promoting literacy in underserved Philadelphia communities.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Jones offers a resolution also naming the 3900 block of Ford Road as Herb Douglas Way in honor of Herb Douglas, the oldest living American Olympic medalist, for his many life achievements on and off the track.
Next week's calendar.
Councilman Johnson offers 8 resolutions. The title of the resolution approving the redevelopment contract and the ground lease agreement of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the South Central urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 614 through 626 South 13th Street, including 1306 through 1310 Cater Street and 1309 through 13 Bainbridge Street. And a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to 2603 Wilder Street in the 2nd Councilmanic District. And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Eastwick urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 2604 Island Avenue. And a resolution urging the Board of Revision of Taxes to adopt a policy of accepting all Nunc Pro Tunc property assessment appeals filed for tax year 2023 by January 2, 2023, due to the ongoing delay in mailing of property reassessment notices.
Those 4 resolutions will be on next week's calendar.
And a resolution.
Okay, Mr. Decker, I'm sorry.
And a resolution urging the United States Congress to pass legislation to effectuate the bipartisan agreement on gun violence prevention recently negotiated in the United States Senate.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution recognizing Southwest Philadelphia's own Mont Brown for his notable contributions to his community on the occasion of World Humanitarian Day, August 19, 2022.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution also naming the 2900 block of South Sydenham Street, Theodore Scariato Senior Way, to honor the life and legacy of Theodore Scariato Senior for serving the South Philadelphia community for over 70 years. And a resolution naming the 2100 block of South Earp Street, Frank Tick Coleman Way, to honor the life and legacy of Dr. Frank Tick Coleman for his contributions to South Philadelphia as an educator, athlete, community volunteer, and mentor to many youths in the city of Philadelphia.
Those two resolutions will be on next week's calendar.
Councilwoman Gautier offers three resolutions entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to various properties located in the 3rd Councilmanic District, including on the following streets: Brandywine Street, Olive Street, Mellon Street, North Shedwick Street, Wallace Street, and North 33rd Street.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Mantua urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 3618 Wallace Street.
Next week's calendar.
And a resolution approving the 14th Amendment to the redevelopment agreement of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the University City Unit 3 urban renewal area identified by as parcel number 13A and parcel number 13C, and authorizing the redevelopment authority to execute the 14th Amendment to the redevelopment agreement with University City Science Center.
Next week's calendar.
There are no other bills or resolutions being offered today by the members, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions, and our next order of business with reports from committee. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a report from the committee of the whole.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee of the whole reports out 13 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee of the Whole, to which was referred Bill number 200012 entitled an ordinance amending section 191301.1 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Homestead Exclusion to increase the amount of the homestead exclusion. And Bill number 210284 entitled an ordinance amending chapter 192600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes by revising certain tax rates. And Bill number 220284 entitled an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2023 through 2028 inclusive. And Bill number 220285 entitled an ordinance to adopt a fiscal 2023 capital budget. And Bill number 220286 entitled an ordinance adopting the operating budget for fiscal year 2023. And Bill number 220287 entitled an ordinance amending section 10-1001 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Fees of Commissioner of Records to increase certain fees for the recording of deeds and mortgages and related documents. And Bill number 220288 entitled an ordinance amending section 191403 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Imposition of Tax by creating a Philadelphia County Demolition Fund to increase and encourage economic development by demolishing blighted properties within the city, imposing a related fee for recorded documents and related items. And Bill number 220410 entitled an ordinance amending chapter 191500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Wage and Net Profits Tax by revising certain tax rates. And Bill number 220412 entitled an ordinance amending chapter 193900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Tax Exemptions for Longtime Owner Occupants of Residential Properties to revise the cap on the total amount of exemptions authorized in the program. And Bill number 220413 entitled an ordinance amending section 191303 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Discounts and Additions to Tax by tolling additions, interest, and penalties on real estate tax when the assessed value of property is under appeal and limiting tax payments due based on certain assessments under appeal. And Bill number 220485 entitled an ordinance amending section 192600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes with respect to allocation and apportionment of income and receipts inside and outside of the city. And Bill number 220497 entitled an ordinance amending chapter 193900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Tax Exemptions for Longtime Owner Occupants of Residential Properties to modify parameters of tax exemptions for longtime residential owner occupants. And Bill number 220499 entitled an ordinance amending chapter 192900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Senior Citizen Low Income Special Tax Provisions, to modify parameters of special tax provisions for low-income seniors, including the deadline for filing an application. Respectful reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 220012, 210284, 220284, 220285, 220286, 220287, 220288, 220410, 220412, 220413, 220485, 220497, and 220499.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill number 220012, 220284, 220285, 220286, 220287, 220288, 220410, 220412, 220413, 220485, 220497, and 220499. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. Bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. Chair now recognizes Councilmember Johnson for a report from the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Rules reports out 18 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Decker, will you please read that report?
The Committee on Rules, to which is referred bill number 200118, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning, by revising certain provisions of Chapter 14700 entitled Development Standards, by revising bulk and massing controls within CMX4 and CMX5 zoning districts. And bill number 220007, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 14500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Overlay Zoning Districts, by amending a section as proposed to be added by bill number 210778, entitled the AHP Affordable Housing Preservation Overlay District, to add certain areas within the area bounded by Haverford Avenue, 38th Street, Walnut Street, and 46th Street to the district. And bill number 220120, entitled an ordinance continuing the Mount Airy Business Improvement District beyond its termination date in an area that generally includes both sides of Germantown Avenue from 6300 to 7631, and certain blocks of streets that intersect that portion of Germantown Avenue, and for which Mount Airy Improvement District Incorporated, a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, is a neighborhood improvement district management association for the district. And bill number 220323, entitled an ordinance amending section 14513 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled TOD Transit Oriented Development Overlay District, to designate additional transit-oriented development transit stations. And bill number 220357, entitled an ordinance to approve amendments to the Temple University Master Plan in the area bounded by Montgomery Avenue, 13th Street, Pollitt Walk, and 12th Street, related to the new College of Health building at 1801 through 59 North 13th Street. And bill number 220358, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by amending certain provisions of Section 14503 NCA Neighborhood Commercial Area Overlay related to the Ridge Avenue NCA District and by making related changes. And bill number 220363, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by South Street, the Schuylkill River, 34th Street, University Avenue, Civic Center Boulevard, and Health Sciences Drive, and to approve amendments to the University of Pennsylvania Master Plan in the area bounded by South Street, the Schuylkill River, 34th Street, University Avenue, Civic Center Boulevard, and Health Sciences Drive, related to the proposed Art Center building at 2910 South Street, and other previously approved minor amendments. And bill number 220365, entitled an ordinance continuing the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise Neighborhood Improvement District beyond its termination date in the area bounded generally by the north side of Allegheny Avenue, the west side of Memphis Street between Allegheny Avenue and East Westmoreland Street, the south side of East Westmoreland Street, the property line of 3300 Agate Street, and the back of properties facing west along the east side of Tulip Street between Westmoreland and Ontario Streets. The south side of Ontario Street, the west side of Tulip Street between Ontario and Tioga Streets, the north side of Tioga Street, the back of properties facing west on the east side of Tulip Street between Tioga and Venango Streets, and the back of properties facing south along the north side of Venango Street, including the property located at 2301 through 07 East Venango Street, and the back of properties facing east along the west side of Amber Street, as well as the properties located at 2066 through 80 East Tioga Street and 2082 East Tioga Streets. Continuing, the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise Incorporated, a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, as the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association for the district. And Bill number 220414, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, by revising and clarifying certain landscaping requirements and provisions. And Bill number 220417, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, by revising Section 14303, subparagraph 11A, entitled Registered Community Organizations, by establishing a fund to be used by registered community organizations to obtain legal representation for hearings and appeals before the Zoning Board of Adjustments. And Bill number 220445, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Cotman Avenue, Oxford Avenue, Tyson Avenue, Rising Sun Avenue, Glenview Street, Bingham Street, Kerper Street, Rising Sun Avenue, Unruh Avenue, Martins Mill Road, City Boundary, and Hasbrook Avenue. And Bill number 220446, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, by revising certain provisions of Section 14520, entitled NDO 9th District Overlay District. And Bill number 220450, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Woodland Avenue, 49th Street, Grays Avenue, and 54th Street. And Bill number 220451, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Arch Street, 50th Street, Pine Street, and 54th Street. And Bill number 220452, entitled an ordinance amending Section 14513 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled TOD, Transit-Oriented Development Overlay District, to designate additional transit-oriented development transit stations. And Bill number 220456, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Market Street Extended, the Delaware River, Dock Street Extended, and 2nd Street, in order to facilitate development of public open space extending above Christopher Columbus Boulevard and the Delaware Expressway. And Bill number 220457, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Public Property Commissioner on behalf of the city to execute all documents necessary and appropriate, including conveyances of easements, title, and other interests in city-owned real estate, new leases and amendments to existing leases, to facilitate and support the coordinated and comprehensive development of the Delaware River waterfront, Interstate 95, and Christopher Columbus Boulevard, formerly a portion of Delaware Avenue, in the area bounded by Market Street, Pemberton Street, Front Street, and the Delaware River bulkhead line. And Bill number 220458, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Zoning and Planning, to amend certain provisions of Chapter 14500, entitled Overlay Zoning Districts, by amending the provisions of Section 14527, entitled SMH, South Philadelphia Municipal Hub Overlay District. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Decker. The chair recognizes Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you very much. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the first reading of these bills recently just read.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of the 18 bills that were just read into the record by the clerk. All those in favor will say aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading and final passage calendars for today. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Green for a report from the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Finance reports out 8 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilmember Green. The Chief Clerk will please read the report.
The Committee on Finance, which is referred Bill number 220292, entitled an ordinance authorizing an increase in the non-electoral indebtedness of the city within the Pennsylvania constitutional limit authorizing the bond committee to sell bonds at public or private negotiated sale, to provide funds toward various capital municipal purposes, providing for appropriations to the sinking fund permission for the payment of such bonds, and authorizing agreements to provide credit or payment or liquidity sources for the bonds in connection with issuance of the bonds. And bill number 220293, entitled an ordinance amending bill number 190412, entitled an ordinance approving city participation in the Commonwealth's property assessed clean energy program, to modify the CPACE program in conformity with Commonwealth legislation. And bill number 220506, entitled an ordinance authorizing and approving the execution and delivery of a service agreement between the City of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Energy Authority relating to the financing of the construction, equipment, and installation of an energy-efficient city street lighting system and related improvements, approving the issuance of by the authority of bonds, notes, or other evidences of indebtedness in one or more series to finance or refinance such project, and authorizing and approving the obligation of the city to pay in full, when due, the service fee and other amounts payable under the service agreement. And bill number 220508, entitled an ordinance approving the substantial amendment to the Annual Action Plan 2021 through 2022 to add $42,007,561 in Home American Rescue Plan Home ARP funding. And bill number 220509, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Director of Planning and Development on behalf of the city to file applications with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for a community development block grant, to file applications to participate in the Home Investment Partnership Program and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and to apply for housing opportunities for persons with AIDS grant.
Yes.
And bill number 220510, entitled an ordinance authorizing the treasurer on behalf of the city to enter into an amendment agreement with Citizens Bank of Pennsylvania for provision of payroll banking services to the city. And bill number 220511, entitled an ordinance approving the fiscal 2023 capital budget, providing for expenditures for the capital purposes of the Philadelphia Gas Works, including the supplying of funds in connection therewith, subject to certain constraints and conditions, and acknowledging the receipt of the revised forecast of capital budgets for fiscal years 2024 to 2028. And bill number 220529, entitled an ordinance authorizing the fire commissioner and the revenue commissioner on behalf of the city to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Human Services to enable the city to maintain and provide access to emergency medical services. Respectful reports that is considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. The chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 220292, 220293, 220506, 220508, 220509, 220510, 220511, and 220529.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 220292, 220293, 220506, 220508, 220509, 220510, 220511, and 220529. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading and final passage calendars for today. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Jones for a report from the Committee on Public Property and Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Public Property and Public Works reports 6 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. The Chief Clerk will please read the title. Please read the report.
The Committee on Public Property and Public Works, to which is referred bill number 220322, entitled an ordinance amending chapter 16400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Surplus Properties by adding criteria for evaluating non-competitive dispositions. And bill number 220496, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to grant PECO Energy Company an easement for the purpose of installing transmission lines across a portion of the parcel or parcels of land in the area bounded by 34th Street, Grays Ferry Avenue, and the Schuylkill River Pierhead Line. And bill number 220521, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Chief Information Officer of the City of Philadelphia on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to enter into a professional services agreement for up to 60 months in order to obtain hosting and managed services for the One Philly HR, benefits, payroll, time, and attendance system. And bill number 220522, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to convey to the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development all or a portion of certain parcels of land in and about the area bounded by Wharton, 12th, Reed, and 11th Streets for further conveyance, to enter into a sublease agreement with the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development for use by the City of Philadelphia of the premises located at 1357 South 12th Street. And bill number 220524, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property and the Director of Commerce on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to enter into a lease agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for property within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Interstate 95 right-of-way between Spring Garden Street and Allegheny Avenue, as well as certain portions of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's North Delaware Avenue right-of-way between Spring Garden Street and Allegheny Avenue, and certain portions of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Richmond Street right-of-way between Spring Garden and Allegheny Avenue, to be further subleased by the city to the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation. And bill number 220525, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to convey to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania all or a portion of a parcel or parcels of land in and about the area bounded by Front Street, East Allen Street, Canal Street, and Laurel Street. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit first reading this day of bills number 220-322, 220-496, 220-521, 220-522, 220-524, and 220-525.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 220322, 220496, 220521, 220522, 220524, and 220525. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar for today. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Thomas for a report from the Committee on Streets and Services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee on Streets and Services reports out 3 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilmember Thomas. The Chief Clerk will please read the report.
Yes, Madam Chair. The Committee on Streets and Services, which is deferred bill number 210870, entitled an ordinance amending chapter 10400 of the Philadelphia Code, noise and excessive vibration, to establish a prohibition on loud noise emanating from a motor vehicle, and to add a section authorizing use of an automated system for determining violations of that prohibition. And bill number 220321, entitled an ordinance amending section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled designation of bicycle lanes, to authorize a bicycle lane on Woodland Avenue from the Woodlands driveway to the VA Medical Center driveway. And bill number 220459, entitled an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades in a portion of City Plan number 284 by relocating the northwesterly house line and curb lines of Hillcrest Avenue from its current intersection with Germantown Avenue to a point northeasterly therefrom, thereby widening the said portion of Hillcrest Avenue and modifying its intersection with said Germantown Avenue. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. The chair recognizes Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the first reading this day of bills number 210870, 220321, and 459. I apologize. 459 for the record.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 210870, 220321, and 220459. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it, and that bill will be placed on our first reading and final passage calendar today. The chair is now going to recognize Councilmember Jones for a report from the Committee on Labor and Civil Service.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On your behalf, the Committee on Labor and Civil Services reports 2 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The Chief Clerk will please read the report.
The Committee on Labor and Civil Service, to which is referred bill number 220493, entitled An Ordinance Amending subsection 11, Leases and Subleases of Section 17107 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Contractors, Labor Management Relationships, to provide that any city airport operating agreement or regulations of the city concerning rates and charges for the use of city airport gates and other facilities shall be deemed to incorporate the prevailing wage requirements applicable to city leases, covered airport service contracts, and covered airport service employees. And bill number 220526, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 92300 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Protection of Displaced Contract Workers, to extend protections for displaced contract workers to airport service employees and parking workers employed through service contracts or subcontracts to perform work within the city of Philadelphia. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit first reading this day of bills number 220493 and 220526.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 220493 and 220526. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it, and these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar for today. Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Leader. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a report from the Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs reports out 1 bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Please read the report.
The Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs, to which is referred bill number 220366, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Commissioner of the Department of Parks and Recreation on behalf of the city to execute a lease with CP 2023, Pennsylvania Nonprofit Corporation, under which CP 2023 would design, construct, operate, maintain, and repair a museum building on the southerly side of Benjamin Franklin Parkway between the Vine Street Expressway, 21st Street, and 22nd Street, to display works of art by Alexander Calder and the Calder family of artists, all at no cost or expense to the city, and exempting the lease from the requirements of Philadelphia Code Chapter 15100 regarding parks and outdoor spaces. Respectfully reports that it's considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. The chair again recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill number 220366.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 220366. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. This bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. The chair now recognizes Councilman Johnson for a report from the Committee on Transportation and Public Utilities.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Transportation and Public Utilities reports out 4 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
The Committee on Transportation and Public Utilities, to which is referred bill number 220294, entitled An Ordinance Amending Bill number 100163 AA, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the City of Philadelphia to organize an authority to be known as the Philadelphia Energy Authority, as amended, to reaffirm the responsibilities and powers of the authority. And Bill number 220573, entitled an ordinance authorizing the procurement commissioner on behalf of the city to enter into an agreement with the Philadelphia Energy Authority to purchase electricity and certain attributes and benefits related to the generation of such electricity from a solar energy facility to be built and owned by Solaire USA P&E, located at Northeast Philadelphia Airport, for use at and in connection with city facilities. And Bill number 220574, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 12-3000 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled use of an automated red light enforcement system to prevent red light violations, by authorizing the installation of red light enforcement systems at the intersection of 20th Street and John F. Kennedy Boulevard. And Bill number 220575, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 12-3000 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled use of an automated red light enforcement system to prevent red light violations, by authorizing the installation of red light enforcement systems at the intersection of Kelly Drive and Eakins Oval. Respectfully reports that as considered the same, and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills numbers 220294, 220573, 220574, and 220575.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 220294, 220573, 220574, 220575. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. Chair now recognizes Councilman Jones for a report from the Committee on Public Safety. You're mute, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Public Safety reports one bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Public Safety, to which was referred Bill number 220577, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 10300, entitled Minors, to revise the evening curfew hours, all under certain terms and conditions. Respectfully reports that as considered the same, and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you again, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 220577.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 220577. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, and this bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. That concludes our reports on committee, and our next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading, and those bills will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar today, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion concerning the resolutions on the final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following resolutions on the final passage calendar, and they are resolutions number 220581, 220582, 220583, 220584, 220585, 220586, 220587, 220589, 220590, 220591, 220593, 220596, 220597, 220598, 220599, and 220600.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the resolutions just read by Councilwoman Parker. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries, and we will consider the resolution consent agenda shortly. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion concerning the bills on the second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following bills on the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 220-221A, 220444, 220188, 220189, 220243, 220245, 220246, 220247, 220379, 220380, 220381, 220382, 220420, 220453, 220488, 220489, 220492, 220494, 220495, 220500, 220501, 220502, 220503, 2200505, 2200512, 2200513, 2200514, 2200515, 2200516, 2200518, 2200519, 2200520, 2200523, 220528, 220008, 220384, and 220415.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the bills just read by Councilwoman Parker. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
Council President, I'd like to request that 220523 be removed from the consent decree agenda.
220523, Councilman?
Yes.
Thank you. That shall be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you very much, Council President.
You're welcome. I'll say it again. It's moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of the consent agenda. Consider the bill just read by the Councilwoman Parker. Make a note, 220523 has been requested and has been removed. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries, and we will consider the consent agenda shortly. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the resolutions and bills being considered on the consent agendas, the following resolutions and bills are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. They are numbers 220523, 220197, 220594, 220544, 220545, 200040, 200006A, 200007, 210740, 220504, and 220517. All other bills and resolutions are being held, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Thank you very much. That concludes the conversation with respect to what will be on our calendar. So before we proceed with the consideration, we're going to take a 5 to 10 minute break before we consider our public comment, give our technology professionals an opportunity to connect with our speakers for today. Modesto, we'll be back shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. President, we are now live.
Thank you very much. We're back. But now that everyone is connected to the meeting, and before considering the resolutions and bills we have before us today, we will consider our public comment session. It will go as follows. Public comment must concern matters on the second reading and final passage calendar for possible action at a session of council. A speaker on any of those matters must sign up in order to testify. You must call 215-686-3406 by 3 p.m. the day before the session to sign up for public comment. When you call, we will take your name, phone number, the number of the legislative items you are commenting on, and whether you are in support of or against the legislation, and add your name to the list. We will then telephone each person on the list during the council session and invite them to our remote meeting. Today, because of the volume of individuals wishing to testify on public comment, you will have 2 minutes for your comment. Please adjust your comments to reflect a 2-minute time frame. In order to be fair to all those wishing to speak, I intend to hold faithfully to the established time limit. So once invited to the meeting and asked to begin your testimony, a timer will be started. We will monitor your remaining time throughout your testimony, and when there are 30 seconds remaining to your time, you will be reminded of this. Once your allotted time has passed, you will be asked to conclude your remarks, and shortly thereafter, you will be muted and disconnected from the remote meeting. Also reserve the right to limit the number of speakers where repetitious comments are being made in the same subject matter, which could affect callbacks for public comment at the meeting. And also, please be aware that the public meeting is being recorded. So because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So by continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. I would now ask Mr. Decker to read the first name. And again, I thank you so much for your willingness to participate in our public comment session. Mr. Decker, please read the first name on the list.
Our speaker today, Mr. President, is Ernest Garrett, commenting on 2000006A, 2000007, 200040.
Good morning. State your name for the record, and please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Ernest Garrett, President of District Council 33. Good morning, President Clark. His name is Staff Sergeant Alton Ruff. He served honorably in the U.S. Army, and he is my father. Although he was not my biological father, he raised me as if I was his own. He showed me the world, living in places like Fort Polk, Louisiana, Fenton Army Airfield in Mainz, Germany, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Fort Bliss, and El Paso, Texas, and eventually ending his military career in Wiesbaden, Germany. Upon his return to the United States, he met what so many other vets experience when they return home. There aren't many jobs for MIM-72 chaperone tank operator. This hardship devastated my father, as well as my family. My father eventually got a job washing dishes at a sandwich shop across the street from City Hall, which is now a 7-Eleven. Throughout conversations he had along the way, he met a vet who was a judge and helped navigate him through employment with the city of Philadelphia, where he became a custodial worker inside the walls of City Hall. Had my dad not come along, I don't know how my life would have been. So I asked him what he thought of this legislation. And his response was, kids need guidance today, more than ever. I'm Ernest Garrett, and as I said before, I'm the counsel of District Council 33, but I'm also a U.S. military veteran. And I am calling to strongly support Council Member Catherine Gilmore Richardson's legislative to create a 5-point preference for qualified civil service applicants who have completed a Philadelphia School District career and technical education program within the last 3 years, and I'm asking council members to vote in support of this legislation. As a veteran, I have honorably served my country and gained a significant skill set that has entitled me to a points preference for civil service exams. But I also understand the importance of hard work and training, and I see a value in rewarding applicants for their unique experience. This legislation provides young people with a well-earned and reasonable preference based on their experience and their training, and the limited time period allowed ensures that it will be implemented as intended to help young people right out of high school or vocational technical training is most important, and it also gives them options. Our city works because of District Council 33 and its members, like me, and I would love to see more Philadelphia school graduates working with me every day. I strongly urge council members to support Bill number 200006-A and 200007 and resolution number 20040 to help strengthen our city workforce and provide a pathway to stable employment for more Philadelphia families. What legislation is more important than saving the lives of young people? Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Mr. Decker.
Next speaker is Rochelle Bilal, commenting on 220379.
Good morning. State your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Council President. Can you hear me now?
We can. Please proceed.
Good. Good morning, Council President Darrell Clark and council members. I am Sheriff Rochelle Bilal for the City and County of Philadelphia. I am here speaking on support of Bill number 273079. This is in reference to those who are dumping in our neighborhoods. Being a child growing up in North Philadelphia, people used to needlessly come down in our neighborhoods and just dump trash. Well, as an adult, I'm riding through my neighborhood and continuously watching people dumping piles of trash in certain parts of my neighborhood, which is Northwest, and just leaving it there. It's a shame that they just keep just dumping it when there are areas for them to take it to, but they don't want to pay for it. I think the fines, and I'm in agreement with the fines that need to be increased because of this. I videotape them. I consistently report them to Council Member Parker that these people are continuously dumping in this one area, and every time that the Department of Trash come back and pick it up, they come right back and dump it again. So I think these fines need to be raised to have an impact on them for dumping consistently in our neighborhoods. It's a shame. We don't dump in theirs. They should not come and dump in ours. So I am in 100 support of this bill, and I just hope the City Council all vote on it because it needs to be done. We need to stop them from dumping in our neighborhoods, and the fines should make a serious impact on them for doing so. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Queen Judith Robinson, commenting on 220590, 220243, 220582, and 220008.
Good morning. State your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon. I am Queen Judith Robinson, and I would like to have the rules of council suspended to allow the public to call in past the deadline and just spontaneously maneuver as you all change things around as you choose to, and we don't have time to really even register as to what you're doing in that regard. So it's complicated enough for the public to try to understand all these numbers and bills, etc. But I'm right there with you all. So I just would like to make sure the public has an opportunity to advocate. So shout out to Dr. Heights. Farewell is not goodbye. Thank you so much for what you have done. Welcome to the new council member. I want to say to Councilman O'Neill, please give the homeowners all the protections, increase the income and the criteria. Councilman O, we hear you. Arts, culture, and creative economy and tourism, $1 billion business. So as it relates to this budget, $5.6 billion plus dollars, and you all have the right to distribute it around. So Tangled Titles, make sure you are giving funds to where tangles can really be untangled. No one does it better than a real estate broker who has that knowledge, and we do. So we're doing the work. So we want some of those funds rebuild? Why can't we get things unstuck as it relates to Cecil B. Moore Rec Center? We need mental health services, you all. Anger management for everybody. I'm starting with my class soon, and I encourage everyone to get a little anger management. Our community is unsafe as it relates to people being ticked off and then having illegal guns or even legal guns in their possession. I want to make sure that we get all of our parks, our rec centers open and power centers open with programming, okay? Court system, DAs, more undercover people, anger management, because I didn't get all of my time. So I want to make sure sanitation is enforced. Short dumping should be enforced with the fines. I'll be back next week. To be continued.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is William Tung, commenting on 220523.
Good morning. State your name for the record and please proceed with your testimony.
Hi, my name is Bill. I am also asking Mayor Kenney to implement Otis's mixed lane configuration throughout the rest of Washington Avenue. I speak today as a resident, parent, and firefighter. It's difficult to hear road safety opponents use emergency response as an excuse not for making Washington Avenue safer. Speaking unofficially from my personal experience as a firefighter, 3 lanes is as wide as Lehigh Avenue or Allegheny Avenues in North Philly, as wide as 52nd Street in West Philly, and with a center turning lane would still function well as a route for emergency vehicles. It's simply untrue that fire trucks need a 5-lane highways in every neighborhood to get around. The opposition to the plan is truly about driving convenience. There is no mention of things that truly affect emergency response. Illegal parking in the medians, along corners, blocking fire hydrants. Most importantly, a withdrawal from Otis's original plan means the community negotiated emergency signal preemption, a life-saving device that gives the green light for emergency vehicles, is in jeopardy. Speaking as a parent, my 9-year-old daughter's school is among the 6 schools and 5 RCOs asking council for a reconfiguration of Washington Avenue to make the road safer for all users, especially for pedestrians. Since Washington Avenue has been under consideration, in 2010, 2-year-old Derek Martinez died crossing with his mother at 6th and Washington. In 2012, 11-year-old Samantha Nguyen Ortanez died on the sidewalk near 8th and Washington. In 2014, 29-year-old Sheena White died crossing 15th and Washington. Her 8-year-old son was found by police trying to revive her. In 2017, 83-year-old Sarah Wood died crossing 20th Washington. And in 2020, a 31-year-old man died crossing Broad in Washington. That all these pedestrians were killed by drivers during the decade-long engagement and that roadway safety is still not the highest priority shows either a lack of compassion or knowledge. I thank Councilmember Scola's commitment to roadway safety with this legislation and ask Mayor Kenney to listen to the voters and implement the mixed lane plan and end this tide of roadway deaths today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Jeff Pussner, commenting on 220523.
Good morning. I'll state your name for the record, please, and proceed. Good morning. Are you connected?
The next speaker is Claudia Smith Sharad, commenting on 220523.
Good morning. State your name for the record, please. Proceed.
Good morning, Claudia Smith Sherrod. I'm calling in opposition of Bill 220523. I've been fighting this fight since 2013. I'm an 80-year-old woman, and I've crossed that street many times. I've never felt danger, and it's not unsafe. To implement this plan would not only hurt me, it would hurt others as well, because you're trying to satisfy a special interest group, not the people who live in that community. It is an arterial road. It's an evacuation route, excuse me. And there's no room to say that the fire department and the police department don't support it, because most of them do support it, because the way the street is, it's a lot of commercial not no industrial like it used to be, but people need to load and unload. If you take these lanes away, it will cause more damage, and it would also perhaps kill more bikers, because it is not for bikers, it's for motorists. It's not for pedestrians, it's for motorists. When you cross it, if the light is set so you could have longer times for people to cross it, that's great. I went to school in South Philly. I'm a lifelong resident of South Philly, and I think it's wrong to just stuff things down our throat. I spoke to Councilman Squilla, and I told him I think he made a bad decision, because a lot of his people are calling me now on the phone asking me to help them, but they need to be up there telling you that they want Washington Avenue to remain the same. We thank you for the opportunity to talk, but you need to listen to the people who are really affected by it, not the people who don't live around the corner from it like I do. And before I leave, I would like to say I do support Bill number 220008. It's about time someone thought about what the contractors are doing to properties.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We
Thank
appreciate
you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Drew Miller, commenting on 220008.
Good morning. State your name for the record. Please proceed.
Good morning, Council President and members of City Council. My name is Drew Miller, and I am a paralegal at Community Legal Services in the Homeownership and Consumer Rights Unit. I'm pleased to testify in support of Bill 220008 today to help protect Philadelphia's row home neighborhoods. As the Council knows, Community Legal Services is a nonprofit legal aid office that provides free legal representation to low-income Philadelphians. We represent clients with a variety of civil legal matters, including homeownership issues. At the hearing before the Committee on Licenses and Inspections on June 2nd, 2022, a number of row home owners, including one of our CLS clients, and other stakeholders testified about the need for this bill. They testified about the various damages experienced as a result of neighbors largely being left out of the process during adjacent construction. This bill is an opportunity to enact established best practices that will promote an equitable impact for all Philadelphians adjacent to demolition and construction. On behalf of CLS and our clients, we want to thank Councilmember Squilla and Councilmember Dom for co-sponsoring this legislation. And we ask that City Council support Bill 220008 to help protect Philadelphia row home neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Next speaker is Yasha Zaranikal.
Good morning. I'm sorry. Good afternoon. State your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Yasha Zarenkel. I'm the Advocacy Director of Transit Forward Philadelphia and a resident of South Philadelphia in the Point Breeze neighborhood. And I'm testifying in support of Bill number 220523. According to engagement that has been done by the Office of Transportation Infrastructure and Sustainability, engagement speaking to neighbors, transit running times on Washington Avenue need improvement, and that's coming from the voices of riders and residents in that neighborhood. And we stand with the riders who believe that a mixed lane configuration is necessary because designated spaces for buses and bus boarding islands is necessary. The safety of passengers boarding the buses is of utmost importance, along with buses and passengers not blocking bike lanes or in the path of vehicle traffic. We appreciate Councilmember Squilla for introducing the necessary legislation to make the mixed lane configuration work in the 1st District. However, in order to have consistent safety measures, it is now pertinent that Mayor Kenny approve the mixed lane configuration throughout the rest of the avenue from 11th Street to Graves Ferry Avenue. We believe that this step is crucial for riders to travel safely on Washington Avenue. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Mark Zecca, commenting on 210599.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record.
Yes,
my name is Mark Zecca. I am a Philadelphian and a lawyer. I am speaking in favor of Councilmember Bass's resolution to reconsider the illegal giveaway of the city's history collection. I hope this resolution leads to hearings on the deal and rejection by council of this illegal giveaway of city assets that is being done without council approval. This illegal deal attempts to give away priceless treasure of the people of the city. It is a permanent giveaway of property that you are supposed to control under the charter. Don't let the law department fool you about what is going on here. There can be no legal deal without a council vote under more than one charter section, and there must be a charter change for this deal to be legal because the charter says a city agency runs it. The council and citizens are being betrayed by the city's lawyer, who should be defending the rights of council and the citizens. I was in the city law department for over 20 years. If I were still there, I would refuse to approve this deal because it would violate my oath of office. The court case the city filed is totally meaningless and was based on deception by the law department. No court has ended the legal requirement for council to approve the agreement or ended the need for a charter change, and no court could do that. And court never even had any jurisdiction for reasons I can explain later. The city's court petition was totally void. The fact that the city may have done illegal things in the past without going to council is only more reason to stop this one. The city can have a great museum here, far better than Drexel. City never tried. It could easily be funded and supported by cities already funded agencies. Would be the People's Museum, the story of every Philadelphia neighborhood and all the city's peoples. Nothing like it. We'd have rotating exhibits on every neighborhood and each group of people. Why are we giving away Joe Frazier's boxing gloves? Philly's champ. Would any council member vote to give them away? Let's pass the resolution and have hearings on the deal. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Jerome Wack, commenting on 220008.
Good afternoon.
Hello, my name is Jerome Wack, and I ask the City Council to pass Bill 220008, which is an amendment to the 2018 Philadelphia Building Code. I have been a resident for more than 60 years here in the city of Philadelphia. In 1986, I bought a building in 1947 Christian Street, which I still own and occupy. Fast forward to 2020, when St. Charles Roman Catholic Church Senior Citizen Center was sold to a white gentrifying developer for $3.5 million. During the demolition and construction of townhouses here on Christian Street, my building was seriously damaged. My shed was damaged by a steel beam 35 feet long, 5 tons long. My patio was destroyed. My building was dug under during excavation. Concrete blocks were broken on my pavement. My gate and fence was badly destroyed. My central air conditioner was badly damaged. And lastly, my roof was attached without my consent, without compensation, and without the proper permits by this developer. I was arrested in February of 2021 for third-degree criminal trespass on my own roof, the building that I owned since 1986. The detective did not question me, did not return to the alleged scene of the crime. I was just arrested. I had no prior criminal convictions before, during, and even today. I ask City Council to vote yes on this bill, and please enact it and make sure it is effective this year. Please do not delay until 2023. Gentrification is the quiet violence which continues to plague longtime residents and neighborhoods in the city of brotherly love. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Next speaker is Mike Lee, commenting on 220594.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Lee, and I'm testifying humbly in support of Resolution 220594, a resolution honoring the life and legacy of trailblazing attorney and my father, Bernard Lee. On behalf of my mother, Kathy, my sister, Michelle, and her husband, Omar, my brother, Justin, his wife, Faye, and my beautiful wife, Madeline and our wonderful son, Winston. I can't thank City Council enough for lifting up another great Philadelphian. And it's fitting to receive this recognition on the cusp of both Father's Day and Juneteenth, two things that symbolize what my father cared about most, his family and his people. He gave all of his energy to make sure that we, his family, have opportunities to reach our potential, but that potential includes being humble and being in service and making sure that we take care of our people. And our people is an inclusive term. Sometimes our people are Sixer fans, sometimes they're attorneys, but more often than not, they're strangers that slowly become friends, that slowly become family. And my dad's legacy is much more than buildings in City Hall, much more than legal negotiations or mentorships that impact the city and the world. It's the fact that when people think of him, he builds a smile on their face. It's the fact that being a trailblazer means that people are following the path that you laid. And I am truly thankful for City Council to take time today while finalizing our fiscal plan and addressing the senseless gun violence, preventable overdose deaths, and the general systemic racism that plagues our society now, to remind Philadelphians that greatness lives in Philadelphia, generation after generation. Thank you again for this honor, and thank you to Councilmember Gauthier and her Chief of Staff, Max Weiss, for thinking of the Lee family. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Jumping backwards in the list, Mr. President, to someone we just managed to connect, Jeff Pusner, commenting on 220523.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
State your name for the record, please.
Jeff Posner. Council President, council members, and fellow residents. My name is Jeff Posner, and I live in the 1300 block of South 19th Street. Good afternoon. I speak today in support of Bill 220523 for the safest version of Washington Avenue currently possible. After 40 years, I'm proud to be a resident again. I love living in a city where I can walk or bike to shops, doctors, the post office, and almost anywhere I need to go. However, crossing Washington Avenue is scary. Riding its often blocked or unmarked bike lanes is even worse. The avenue is an unwelcome and artificial barrier between north and south. Washington Avenue needs to be a single resource for all city residents and should not be carved up and recreated as individual neighborhoods desire. This enormous avenue divides children from playgrounds, dominates the immediate area, and is recognized and documented as a significant source of traffic accidents, dangerous driving, chaotic parking, with vehicles and bikes weaving from block to block as they attempt to navigate the chaos. Additionally, Washington Avenue is the only marked bike lane between Pine Street and Snyder Avenue, a distance of 1.5 miles, with only one east-west bike lane. The city needs this lane to be restructured as Otis has designed, a protected lane that only runs east of the 11th Street, again disadvantages those of us in Point Breeze. I'm not sure how any single council member is vested with the power over such a crucial project. However, there are times when the greater good for a city must take precedence over individual neighborhoods. That's why I want to see not only Council Member Shakila's bill approved, but for the mayor to configure the rest of Washington Avenue and Otis's mixed lane plan. I'd like to thank the council member for hearing me today.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Still back on page 1, Mr. President, to the speaker we managed to connect, Linda Evans, commenting on 220523.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
State your name for the record.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Linda Evans. I oppose Bill 220523. I am a 25-year resident of Christian Street. Like Council Member Kenyatta Johnson, I support the various safety improvements that Philly Otis wants to install along the roadway this year. But I also want Washington Avenue to remain a 5-lane road only throughout the 2nd District. Before I explain my rationale, I want to thank Councilman Kenyatta Johnson for being extraordinarily courageous, for taking a tough position that has warranted a special interest group who has protested repeatedly throughout his legislative district, and then for the local newspaper, an editorial to say that Councilman Johnson is stopping Washington Avenue from becoming safe. And then the next day, to have the 100-year-old African-American newspaper say that this special interest group should lobby the mayor to overreach his authority and to make a decision for the very diverse constituency which makes up his district, which consists of multiple generational families, long-term residents like myself, seniors, businesses, new residents, African Americans, Asians. Mr. Mayor, you have your priorities. It should be addressing the violence in this city. It also should be addressing the tax hike. I must recognize that Councilman Johnson has caught a lot of hell for not looking out for his interests. But in closing, I want you to stay committed to the position. We want safety. Yes, we do. Safety is possible within the 5-lane roads in the 2nd District. We believe in safety. We believe in walkability. We want it friendly for the pedestrians. And as someone who lives on Christian Street, we have an oversaturation of parking in this area. So I urge you to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Turning to page 2, Mr. President. The next speaker is Hannah Eage.
Good afternoon. State your name for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Hannah Egge. I'm a North Philly resident and volunteer with Families for Safe Street, and I'm here to testify in support of Council Member Squeala's Parking and Loading Bill number 220523. My husband, Sharia Musyokov, was struck and killed by a driver going 75 miles per hour on February 4th, 2021. Although this happened in San Francisco, it was a preventable death if the city had taken action to fix the boulevard where Sharia was killed. The community had all voiced their concerns around the safety of this boulevard and high speeds on it, but the city had done nothing. Washington Ave has already seen one too many deaths and injuries on it. The current speed allowed is too high, and the lane configuration does not provide the adequate safety needed for pedestrians and bikers. I fully support the city's plans as it is the safest plan that is backed by data and research. The last year and a half since losing Sharia has been unbearable, and my heart goes out to all of the families and survivors who have lost so much from crashes on Washington Ave. We can do better. So let's start now by listening to the data and the community needs, and let's make Washington Ave safe again. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is George Ginder, commenting on 200006A and 200007.
Thank you. Good afternoon. State your name for the record. Please proceed.
Council President, council members, good afternoon. My name is George Ginder. I am the chairman of the Philadelphia Veterans Advisory Commission, a veteran, and hold membership to several veteran organizations. After speaking with Philadelphia veterans, the commission is opposed to the proposed preference point bill. We were opposed 2 years ago and still are. By now, council should be in receipt of a letter the commissioners forwarded yesterday. In it, we advise that veterans that we come in contact with are very displeased with the bill or any program that will take from veterans, whether it be points for hiring or attempts to diminish their stature, whether real, perceived, or implied. No matter what a veteran did while serving their country, the fact is, when they enlisted, they wrote a check that, if called upon, was payable up to and including dying for their country. Many veterans returned home, none the worse for their service time. Others were not as lucky. However, they all earned sacred benefits, one of which is preference points that are so rightly deserved for their contributions while serving our country in uniform. The bill in question calls for the award of preference points to people who never left their families, never wore the uniforms of our country, don't know the hardships of serving in a combat zone. Can you see why veterans would be opposed to this dilution of their earned benefits? It's been said that this bill will not impact the veteran, nor do veterans care for the preference points being diminished. I am here to tell you that they do care and are protective of the rights that they earn. For that reason, I would like to advise that this bill, at least for now, be tabled until a larger segment of the Philadelphia veterans can be polled by council to learn if the Philadelphia veteran community is in favor or not in favor of this bill. The polling process can be accomplished simply by conducting town hall meetings or by visiting organizations to solicit their opinions on whether or not they care if the bill is passed. I'd like to thank council for the opportunity to speak at this hearing today concerning this subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Michael Numes, commenting on 220597.
Good afternoon. State your name for the record, please.
Thank you, Council President Clark and Michael Decker. I'm Michael Numes, Chief of Staff at Visit Philadelphia. Thank you, City Council, for your leadership on behalf of our city, and thank you, Councilmember Squilla, for introducing the resolution renaming a street corridor in Philadelphia's neighborhood as Jeff Guarcino Way. You know, Jeff Guarcino is a Philadelphia hometown hero. His passion for our city was rooted in his love for Philadelphia and for all Philadelphians. From Juneteenth and July 4th to the Visit Philadelphia holiday tree at Dilworth Plaza, Jeff believed that Philadelphians deserve to have epic celebrations, even bigger than New York City. And he didn't stop until he forged programs that not only drove critical economic activity, but importantly, boosted civic pride. Just as Councilwoman Parker is leading visionary efforts to host an HSBCU Classic, Jeff Guarcino dreamed big. Jeff's heart beats on through the people and memories he inspired and through the events and celebrations he courageously reimagined. As Chief of Staff for Visit Philadelphia and Jeff's close friend, I'm so deeply moved and thrilled that his legacy will be honored through the street naming of Jeff Guarcino Way. On behalf of the board and staff of Visit Philadelphia, we thank City Council for your continued leadership and sacrifice on behalf of all Philadelphians, and Visit Philadelphia remains committed to working with you to support Philadelphia's economic recovery while boosting civic pride. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Tammy Sortman, commenting on 220597.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record.
It's Tammy Sortman. And good afternoon, City Council members and Philadelphia residents. I'm actually speaking on the exact same resolution that Michael just spoke on, in approval of the signage on 13th Street for Jeff Guarcino. I'm here today to make a statement about my friend, cohort, and partner in crime, Jeff Guarcino, who was loved and admired by everyone in the tourism and hospitality industry. Jeff was the president of Visit Philadelphia when he passed away from cancer in December of last year. He was a passionate advocate for Philadelphia that went way beyond city and the countryside. His work as a tireless advocate for the LGBTQ plus community really defines his legacy when in 2003, Jeff helped create a marketing campaign encouraging LGBTQ plus tourists to come to Philadelphia with print ads and a groundbreaking TV commercial. The advertising was the first of its kind in the country, and the tagline was, "Come to Philadelphia, get your history straight and your nightlife gay." Philadelphia became known as a gay-friendly destination, and welcoming space for LGBTQ plus travelers at a time when the rest of the country was still deciding if it was for or against basic rights for gay marriage. Jeff's strategies were some of the first ever seen in the country and will have a lasting impact on hospitality industry and global scale for the years to come. With this campaign in full swing, the Philadelphia Gay Tourism Caucus worked together with Jeff and the city to erect 72 rainbow street signs that welcomed the LGBTQ plus travelers to the neighborhood. Jeff was so proud when the rainbow signs were finally installed. So with all that Jeff has done for his community and the city of Philadelphia, it would be so fitting to have Jeff's name put on the street signs that he helped create. Jeff will be remembered as the LGBTQ pioneer in the tourism and travel industry, as well as one of the proudest residents of Philadelphia. So I want to thank Councilman Squilla for this resolution 220597. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Next speaker is Nathaniel Smith, commenting on 200-006A and 200-007.
Good afternoon. I'll state your name for the record, please.
Nathaniel Smith. Good afternoon, Council President Clark and council members. My name is Nathaniel Smith, and I am the immediate past state commander for the Veterans of Four Wars, Department of Pennsylvania. I represent over 65,000 VFW members, and I have about a quarter of them from Philadelphia. I'm here to testify on the opposition of Bills 20006A and 20007. I have nothing against young men and women that is basically trying to find a job. However, as a 24-year vet myself, it's hard enough to get a job when you get out of the military. We have thousands of homeless vets, and this would just add to them. I believe that the council should find another way to basically help these young men and women without impeaching on the backs of our veterans who basically fight for your freedom each and every day. I personally believe that they should, if they didn't get this 10-point system, our vets would be more or less more homeless than they are. I thank you for your consideration and of opposition to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Kevin Broad, commenting on 220523.
Good afternoon. Please
Hi,
state your name. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Broad, and I'm in support of 220523. I've been in the Grad Hospital area for 26 years, the last 17 years living at 23rd and Carpenter. I'm familiar with and alarmed by the aggressive driving and haphazard parking on Washington Avenue. Too often I find myself crossing Washington Avenue in the blinding morning light with people racing each other to the next red light. Currently, the avenue is wide and open and encourages this speeding. Drivers even use the turning lanes to dart ahead of the two adjacent through lanes. Should this kind of driving be encouraged? Meanwhile, the city has spent years and hundreds of thousands of dollars on designs, education, and outreach with no action. My neighbor, Sarah Woods, was hit, run over, and killed walking across Washington Avenue 4 years ago. She lived at St. Anthony's. Everyone loved Sarah. She was a musician. She sent cards and made gifts for her neighbors. More recently, another elderly woman from St. Anthony's was struck and seriously injured when an impatient driver turned and hit her in the crosswalk. How many more neighbors have to be killed or injured for our city to act and do what's necessary? How many times do I have to dodge the aggressive drivers? How many times do we take our chances with fast driving neighbors even who care more about getting to the next red light than the quality of life in our neighborhood? With housing density increasing in our neighborhood, there will only be greater pedestrian activity along the avenue. I demand action now by completing the lane changes that experts have designed and recommended, and which the majority of neighbors have repeatedly supported. Thank you, Councilmember Squilla, for introducing your parking and loading legislation to complete the mixed lane configuration in the first district. Now it's time for my congressperson and for Mayor Kenny to step in and make sure that all of Washington Avenue is paved with Otis's mixed lane configuration. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Michelle Gaffney, commenting on 220008.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, members of council. My name is Michelle Gaffney, and I'm a Philadelphia homeowner calling from Old Richmond in District 1. I'm a community advocate and consultant for adjacent construction safety and residents' rights. I'm also a member of an adjacent construction safety coalition composed of members of the community from various organizations, advocacy groups, and individual advocates like myself. I'm asking today that the council vote yes to pass Bill number 220008. The impact of adjacent construction damage is financially devastating, life-altering, and leaves behind lasting emotional trauma. Residents whose property is damaged or destroyed by adjacent construction are often left with no recourse or protection. Given the city recently announced significant property tax increases, the homeowners paying those taxes deserve concrete support in preserving the generational wealth that they hold in their homes. This bill is an essential step toward proactively reducing the conditions that lead to adjacent construction damage in the first place. I also urge the council to take 2 additional actions in relation to this bill. First, change the effective date for this bill to September 2022 instead of January 2023. This bill is already too late for countless victims of adjacent construction harm, some of whom testified on the record to the Committee of Licenses and Inspection on June 2nd. Second, provide resources for community legal services to fund a pilot program addressing the needs of adjacent construction damage cases. As it stands, residents do not have anywhere to go to address these issues, and we desperately need dedicated help in this area. Please help build CLS's capacity to be able to hold developers accountable to the legislation in this bill. Thank you for your time and your efforts to continue building institutional support for Philadelphia homeowners.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Francis Hober, commenting on 220599.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. My name is Francis Hober. I am a historian and I live and work in South Philadelphia. Good afternoon, President Clark and members of council. I want to thank member Cindy Bass for introducing resolution 220599. This resolution calls for council hearings to reconsider the Kenny administration's proposal to give away city property worth many tens of millions of dollars to a private institution. I'm referring to the collection of the Philadelphia History Museum at the Atwater Kent. I first visited the Atwater Kent Museum on a trip with my elementary school in 1949. That childhood visit started me on an interest in Philadelphia history that lasts my whole life. I was a paying member of the museum for 35 years until the Kenny administration abruptly shut the doors in 2018 after 80 years of service to Philadelphia citizens. I am one of a vast number of Philadelphians who care passionately about the Philadelphia History Museum at the Atwater Kent and its fabulous collections. The truth is that the city underfunded the Atwater Kent collection for much of its 80 years that the museum operated. But after 12 mayors who kept Philadelphia's History Museum going, it was only the Kenny administration that slammed the doors on the public. Then, inexplicably, the administration came up with its plan to give away the museum's priceless collection to a private institution. This plan would put Philadelphia's property and historic heritage into private control without getting anything in return other than vague promises. Most egregiously, the administration completely bypassed City Council in this ill-considered act. City Council can save this situation by voting in favor of Resolution 220599. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Next speaker is Bob Eskind, commenting on 220599.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, this is Bob Eskind. I live in West Philadelphia. I appreciate this opportunity to testify. I worked at the Atwater Kent Museum when it was still called that between 1988 and 1993. As a curator, I sometimes encountered potential donors who were somewhat wary about the security of the artifacts that they were giving to the museum. They'd ask me, the Atwater Kent, what is that? And I explained that they were giving their things to the city of Philadelphia. The Atwater Kent Museum was the city's history museum. Their beloved family treasures would belong to the people of Philadelphia. I hope I wasn't mistaken. This administration has chosen to simply get rid of it. The museum, the collection, the spatial opportunity to shape public discourse through exhibitions and public programs. Why would the city give up a platform, give up a stage where the public can wrestle with and celebrate and question elements of our shared history, and indeed help create the multiple narratives that inform our history? This is a kind of soft privatization brought about by public failure. The failure of this and previous administrations to demand leadership and vision from the museum's supposed stewards. The loss of the Atwater Kent Museum is not simply a loss of public ownership, but a loss of the idea of public ownership, that we as citizens have the capacity, that we owe it to ourselves to assemble materials that are important to us and take responsibility for them and use them to discover and tell our stories. We have a right to access and use those collections. I welcome Council's resolution to examine the questions that arise out of the proposed transfer of this public collection to private ownership and to private advantage. I support the resolution that the city should closely examine these questions when we abandon notions of stewardship and abdicate the responsibilities of the public trust. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it.
The next speaker is Kate Goodman, commenting on 220533.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Kate Goodman, and I'm a city worker. I am a rank and file member of AFSCME District Council 47, Local 2187. I'm a member of Unity Caucus and the Philadelphia Revenue Project. And I'm commenting in opposition to the city budget, Bill 220286. I work in North Philadelphia, from Strawberry Mansion to Sharswood to Kensington, all the way up to McPherson Square in Fishtown. In other words, I work all over City Council President Darrell Clarke's District 5, and I'm tired of watching him ignore his constituents, who are some of the poorest people in the entire country and who live in the neighborhoods most impacted by gun violence. And I'm tired of watching Council President Clarke talk about how important ending poverty and gun violence in Philadelphia are out of one side of his mouth, and then work with the Chamber of Commerce to defund city services and cut union jobs in his district out of the other side of his mouth. With the passage of this budget behind closed doors at 11:30 p.m. through a secretive, undemocratic process that Clarke controls, it's clear that President Clarke and his inner circle of conservative Democrats have not only locked out progressive city council members who disagree with them, but have locked out working class Philadelphians as a whole from the whole budget process. Last night, City Council caved to big business, Comcast and Aramark, and gave away nearly $35 million in tax breaks to the wealthy through the cuts to BERT and the wage tax reductions. This is $35 million that won't go to city services. Mayor Kenney and City Council are gearing up to call the tiny library and Parks and Rec budget increases a win all over the media. I urge the public not to listen to them. The library spending increase Okay, the library's funding increase is insufficient to meet the needs of the community, but it's a start. The Parks and Rec budget, however, is so low that it's truly dangerous. It's guaranteed that young people in our neighborhoods will not have a safe place to go this summer. It will also continue to watch people in power make a conscious choice to leave their rec centers looking like garbage with no adults to support them. It's no wonder they feel lost. Rec centers are open with one worker inside, and the fact that City Council and Mayor Kenny continue to push workers to keep our buildings open on the weekends with no additional staff is exploitative to workers and will not allow business to open. I urge, as long as we rely on big business Democrats like Darrell Clarke, who answer to Comcast and other corporations to run our city, we're just going to watch the wealthy hoard money while the rest of us have no basic services. I urge a no vote on this budget. I urge City Council to fully fund Parks and Recs and other city departments. I urge City Council to stop the BERT and wage tax cuts. And I urge working class Philadelphians and our unions to stop donating to and voting for Democratic politicians who sell us out every single year.
Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate your testimony.
The next speaker is Philip Price, Mr. President, commenting on 220-599.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record. Please proceed.
Yes, Philip Price, Jr. I've been a lifelong resident of Philadelphia, and I've been very involved in historic preservation for much of that time. I support wholeheartedly Councilwoman Bass's bill number 220-599, because for the first time in the history of this matter, since the Atwater Kent Museum closed in June 30, 2018, there will be actually a public forum in which expressions of interest in creating and maintaining a museum of history of the Philadelphia community. Major cities in the country have historical museums that outline their history. Philadelphia, if it closes this forever and gives it away to a private institution, will lose that capacity forever. So by having these hearings, I would hope that ideas about how to recreate the museum in the name of Atwater Kent, who was an extraordinary man, will prevail for future generations. Let me say one word about Atwater Kent. Often the name is used, but nobody understands fully who he was. He made two fortunes in Philadelphia and employed in one of those ventures more than 12,000 people. That was when he was making radios on Wissahickon Avenue, a plant that he built. He sold 2 million radios around the world in each of 2 years. When the Depression came, he made it a point of making sure that his workers were not the ones that suffered. He paid for many of them to find other employment, to pay for their heat and light bills if that was necessary, and he downsized the workforce in a gradual way that did not impact as adversely as it might have otherwise if he just closed his doors like other businesses have done. In 1936, he stopped his business. In 1938, that's when his vision for the creation of a history museum came about. And he bought a building on South 7th Street from the Franklin Institute, allowing it to move to the Parkway, refurbished that building, and gave it to the city of Philadelphia with a stipulation that it should be used for a history of the city going forward, accepting the artifacts and memorabilia that would tell that story. So we have a history of involvement with telling the story in the past, and to give it away now would be an absolute travesty, it seems to me, a lost opportunity forever. Finally,
you kind of wrap it up.
I'm sorry. Thank you for the opportunity testify, and I appreciate your consideration of this matter.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to make mention that the resolution mentioned regarding the Atwater Kent collection is being held because we were able to work with the folks who acquired it, Drexel University and others, to put together a roundtable, a conversation around what happens next. So I really want to encourage for those of you who are interested in what happens with that collection, there will be much more dialogue. We've heard from all sides to have a conversation. They're all interested in having a very robust conversation and figuring out what the next steps are, and to ensure that these valued treasures are not discarded without, there being some sort of a public process, that there should be a process for anything that is removed from the collection. And so I look forward to having additional details about that. Folks can look to our social media pages or else call my office, and we will be having more information in the month of July about what the next steps will be. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
The final speaker is Susan Glassman, commenting on 0599.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, thank you for allowing me an opportunity to speak. I am also calling about Councilmember Bass's Bill 220599 regarding the Atwater Kent and Philadelphia History Museum. And I just want to thank Councilmember Bass for putting forward this bill, opening up further public dialogue for the disposition and care and stewardship of this important collection, and also its function as a museum which provides access to these materials. So a couple of other people have spoken quite eloquently about some of these matters. I'll just add a few statements that I hope Council will support this bill, and also why it is important. The collection itself is extraordinary. It represents the people of Philadelphia in a way, and a broad swath of ethnicities, concerns, geographies, narratives, in a way that no other single collection in the city does. It also comprises documents, but also objects that tell stories in a really different way. And I think the function of the museum was to open objects to the public and open those stories to the public in a way that strictly digitization of objects will not do. So I encourage, in moving forward, that consideration also be thought of the museum function as well as the care and stewardship of the collection, and also that there be assurance that collection material is accessible to scholars and researchers and students who can gain from the collection. I know the time is short. Thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for considering this.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. President, there are no other speakers.
I'm sorry, Mr. Decker, I was on mute, having a conversation with myself. Didn't realize that I was not being heard. Thank you, and thank you for public comment. We are now going to proceed with today's resolution consent agenda.
We are sorry, but the meeting has ended. Goodbye.
Okay. Don't think that we're going to just yet ready to end, so we're going to proceed. I'm going to ask the clerk to please read the titles of all the resolutions on the consent agenda. After each title is read, sorry, we got a little discombobulated. Okay, after each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the resolution on the resolution consent agenda and Upon such an objection, without debate, the resolution will be immediately removed from the resolution consent agenda and placed on today's regular final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, please now read the titles of the resolution on the resolution consent agenda.
Resolution number 220581, entitled a resolution recognizing and congratulating Angela Bell on being named the new president and CEO of Visit Philadelphia. And resolution number 220582, entitled a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to 2342 North 27th Street, 2344 North 27th Street, 2346 North 27th Street, and 2348 North 27th Street, located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 220583, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to certain city-owned lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 5th Councilmanic District. And resolution number 220584, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority deeds conveying fee simple title to certain city-owned lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 5th Councilmanic District of the City of Philadelphia. Resolution number 220585, entitled a resolution recognizing, honoring, and welcoming Zeta Pi Beta Sorority Incorporated on the occasion of its 2022 Grand Bowl being held in the City of Philadelphia, July 18 through July 24, 2022. Resolution number 220586, entitled a resolution recognizing, honoring, and recognizing Carol Tracy Esquire for her profound achievements advancing the legal status of women and families through path-breaking litigation and advocacy, as well as her transformational leadership in the movement for women's rights in Philadelphia and across the nation. Resolution number 220587, entitled a resolution honoring Dan Queller on the occasion of his retirement for 34 years of excellence in broadcast and digital journalism at 6 ABC Action News on Philadelphia's WPVI TV. And resolution number 220589, a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Philadelphia's first Black television reporter, Trudy Haynes, for her work breaking barriers for Black women in the field of journalism. Resolution number 220590, entitled a resolution honoring Superintendent Dr. William Haidt upon his departure from the Philadelphia School District and thanking him for his exemplary service for the students and citizens of Philadelphia over the past 10 years. And resolution number 220591, entitled a resolution recognizing June 15, 2022 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and further recognizing June 16, 2022 as Elder Abuse Awareness Day in the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 220593, entitled a resolution honoring journalist, host, and co-executive producer Terry Gross and the Fresh Air team on their 2022 Peabody Institutional Award. And resolution number 220596, entitled a resolution supporting the Pennsylvania Commission for the United States Semi-Quincentennial America 250 PA. And resolution number 220597, entitled a resolution also naming South 13th Street between Spruce and Locust Streets as Jeff Guaricino Way for his lifelong commitment to the Philadelphia and surrounding communities. Resolution number 220598, entitled a resolution supporting the coordinating entity of the United States Semi-Quincentennial in Philadelphia 250. Resolution number 220599, entitled a resolution urging the United City of Philadelphia to consider the terms of the Atwater Kent Collection Transfer Agreement between the City of Philadelphia and Drexel University. Mr. President, I've been told the sponsor of this legislation would like to return it to the calendar and hold it.
Okay. Record shall reflect that that will be placed back on the calendar for final passage at the next session of council.
And resolution number 220600, entitled a resolution commemorating June 19, 2022 as Korean American Citizenship Day to celebrate the first naturalization of a Korean American in 1890.
Okay, that concluded. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for a motion to adopt each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda. Councilwoman Parker.
Yes, Mr. President, I move the adoption of each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda be adopted. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda has been adopted. We will now consider today's bill consent agenda, and I want to ask Mr. Decker to please read the titles of all the bills on the consent agenda. After each bill title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of a bill on the consent agenda. Upon such an objection and without debate, the bill will be immediately removed from the consent agenda and placed on our regular and second reading final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, please now read all of the titles of the bills on the consent agenda.
Bill number 220-221A, entitled an ordinance amending Title IV of the Philadelphia Code, the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code, by revising Section PM 202 of Subcode PM, the Philadelphia Property Maintenance Code, entitled General Definitions, to revise definitions related to drinking fountains and water dispensers, and revising Section PM 502.6 of Subcode PM, entitled Schools, to add provisions related to drinking facilities in schools and requiring filtration systems. And Bill number 220444, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 2500 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Councilmanic Districts, by revising the approximate population in each of the councilmanic districts to include state and county prisoner data. And Bill number 220188, entitled an ordinance authorizing the striking from City Plan number 269 and abandonment of a portion of a certain right-of-way for drainage purposes and water main purposes in the vicinity of the northwesterly side of Civic Center Boulevard, northeast of Osler Circle. And Bill number 220189, entitled an ordinance amending Section 11505 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Sidewalk Paving and Other Improvements by Property Owners, to authorize the Streets Department to collect fees for costs incurred in reviewing plans for and constructing ADA compliant sidewalks. And Bill number 220243, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 10700 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Refuse and Littering, by adding new definition for third-party administrators and revising Section 10718 to sanction third-party administrators as enforcers of illegal dumping violations. And Bill number 220245, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 12900 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Parking by Regulations and Penalties, by regulating on-street parking of unpermitted semi-trailers and truck tractors. And Bill number 220246, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 12400 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Towing of and Immobilizing of Parked or Abandoned Vehicles, by adding new regulations for the towing and storage of illegally parked semi-trailer and truck tractors. And Bill number 220247, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 12800 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Administrative Adjudication of Parking Violations, by establishing monetary penalties for on-street parking of semi-trailers and truck tractors. And Bill number 220379, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 10700 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Refuse and Littering, to further define short dumping and related violations and to revise penalties and remedies related to such offenses. And Bill number 220380, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Bingham Street and Comely Street. And Bill number 220381, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Clearview Street and North Broad Street. And Bill number 220382, entitled an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Lawrence Street and Somerville Avenue, Ashdale Street and North 2nd Street, Bear Hill Street and Tabor Road, Chew Avenue and North 5th Street, Howard Street and Fisher Avenue, Tabor Road and North 5th Street, Elkin Street and North 7th Street, Somerville Avenue and North 4th Street. And Bill number 220420, entitled an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes, to authorize bicycle lanes on Lindbergh Boulevard between 58th Street and 65th Street. And Bill number 220453, entitled an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes, to authorize a bicycle lane on West Market Street from 20th Street to 23rd Street. And Bill number 220488, entitled an ordinance establishing no truck parking restrictions near various locations, including recreation centers, libraries, parks, and schools in the 9th Council District. And Bill number 220489, entitled an ordinance amending Section 2 of an ordinance, Bill number 180560, approved July 10, 2018, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Revision of Lines and Grades on a portion of City Plan number 250 by striking from the city plan and vacating the legally open portion of Montour Street from Adams Avenue to Fulbright Street, by extending the period for compliance with the terms and conditions stated therein. And Bill number 220492, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Revision of Lines and Grades on a portion of City Plan number 375 by placing on the city plan a certain portion of 67th Street, previously stricken from the city plan, extending southeastwardly from the present terminus of 67th Street, southeast of Essington Avenue. And Bill number 220494, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the striking from City Plan number 97 and abandoning of a right-of-way for drainage purposes and water main purposes in the vicinity of East Broad Street and extending from Washington Avenue to Carpenter Street. And Bill number 220495, entitled An Ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize a bicycle lane on Grace Ferry Avenue from 34th Street to Washington Avenue. And Bill number 220500, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing an Existing Bulk Front Addition at 401 through 407 East Wyoming Avenue. And Bill number 220501, entitled An Ordinance Delegating to the Philadelphia Streets Department the authority to regulate the direction of movement of traffic and establishing parking restrictions on certain streets within the bounded area of Wyoming Avenue to 9th Street, to Pike Street, to Rising Sun Avenue. And Bill number 220502, entitled An Ordinance Regulating the Direction of Movement of Traffic on Gillingham Street between Mulberry Street and Tackawanna Street. And Bill number 220503, entitled An Ordinance Regulating the Direction of Movement of Traffic on Meadow Street between Paul Street and Frankfurt Avenue. And Bill number 220505, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 12-3000 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Use of an Automated Red Light Enforcement System to Prevent Red Light Violations by authorizing the installation of red light enforcement systems at the intersection of Front Street and Hunting Park Avenue. And Bill number 220512, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Revision of Lines and Grades on a portion of City Plan number 246 by striking from the City Plan 51st Street from Woodland Avenue to its terminus southeastwardly therefrom, and reserving and placing on the City Plan a right-of-way. And Bill number 220513, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Revision of Lines and Grades on a portion of City Plan number 269 by relocating the curb lines, reducing the cartway width, modifying the curb grades, and lowering the curb elevations of Osler Circle from Civic Center Boulevard to its terminus northwestwardly therefrom, and from Curie Boulevard to a terminus southeastwardly therefrom. And Bill number 220514, entitled An Ordinance Establishing No Truck Parking Regulations on 53rd Street, both sides, between Whitby Avenue and Broomall Street, and on Whitby Avenue, both sides, between 53rd Street and 52nd Street. And Bill number 220515, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 9213 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Farmers Markets, by adding a permissible location on Baltimore Avenue between 58th Street and 59th Street. And Bill number 220516, entitled An Ordinance Establishing Parking Regulations on Saybrook Avenue from Melville Street to 46th Street. And Bill number 220518, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 12-3000 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Use of an Automated Red Light Enforcement System to Prevent Red Light Violations by authorizing the installation of red light enforcement systems at the intersection of 58th Street and Baltimore Avenue. And Bill number 220519, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Striking from City Plan number 130 and vacating of an area for municipal purposes located at the intersection of the northeasterly side of Haverford Avenue and the westerly side of Wilton Street. And Bill number 220520, entitled An Ordinance Amending Bill number 1280, adopted June 30, 1982, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 12900 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Parking Regulations and Penalties, and Chapter 12-1000 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Parking Meter Regulations and Penalties, by respectively authorizing the Streets Department to establish and revise limited time parking regulations in areas expressly provided for by special ordinance, to install parking meters in areas expressly provided for by special ordinances, by increasing charges for metered parking, and by increasing penalties for violation of Chapter 12-1000, and further specifically designating the Center City and University City areas for the purpose of authorizing the Streets Department to establish and revise limited time parking regulations and to designate parking meter zones, and to specifically increase parking meter fees in these areas. To revise the area constituting University City. And Bill number 220528, Entitled an ordinance authorizing the relocation of the curb lines of Watt Street from Pine Street to a point northwardly therefrom on City Plan number 308 and plotting on the said city plan of an area for public pedestrian use, extending along the westerly side of said Pine Street and authorizing acceptance of the grant to the city of the said area for public pedestrian use. And Bill number 220008, entitled an ordinance amending Title 4 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code, to revise and add provisions relating to investigations concerning property adjacent to or adjoining certain construction activities, and the provision of notice to owners and residents of such properties. And Bill number 220384, entitled an ordinance amending Title 4 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled the Philadelphia Building Construction and Occupancy Code, to amend provisions relating to allowable time extensions on a construction permit. And Bill number 220415, entitled an ordinance amending Section A 703.2 of Title 4 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Special Certificate of Inspection, to include satisfaction of certain plumbing facilities and fixture requirements as means of certifying compliance with certain water quality requirements for issuance of special certificates of inspection, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Appreciate that. These bills haven't been read on 2 different days. The question for each bill now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker shall call the roll, and upon being called, each council member shall vote aye on each of the bills, nay on each of the bills, or indicate those bills for which the member is voting aye and those bills for which the member is voting nay. Please be careful of your mic. Mr. Decker. Okay. Call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Brooks is voting aye on all bills. Councilman Dom.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Driscoll.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Green.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Jones.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman O.
Aye on all bills.
Dirt out.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye on all bills.
Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye on all bills.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye on all bills.
Council President Clark.
Aye on all bills. The majority of all the members having voted affirmative for each of the bills on the consent agenda are passed. We will now consider the bills and resolution on the regular second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 220197.
A resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to create the Department of Aviation, to transfer the functions of certain city agencies with respect to the operations of the city's airports to the newly created department and to provide for additional duties of the department.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilman Johnson for an amendment to resolution number 220197.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I would like to offer an amendment to resolution number 220197. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes
Nay.
have it. Resolution. We have
One nay. One nay from Councilman O.
Let the record reflect Councilman O is a nay vote.
Point of quick information, Council President.
Absolutely. The chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Just want to thank you for your flexibility and taking in the information that was given to you by individuals from the Philadelphia National Airport as well as Councilman O'Neill. So just thank you for your flexibility and working with us around this issue. Thank you very much, Council President.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman, and thank you for your continued support for Philadelphia Airport. Very important, significant issue. And I'll just briefly go through issues next to the number of
Mr. President, I'd like to thank you also, having this smaller airport in my district.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, briefly, there was an issue with respect to the number of exempt employees. The request was for 60, I believe 65 exempt employees. There was of significant concerns because the significant majority of workforce in the city of Philadelphia that our departments have civil service employees that are authorized by the administrative board. In this particular case, we were asked not to do that and provide 65. Understand some of the specialized types of employees that may be required for the airport, particularly after talking to Councilman Johnson, that's been involved a significant number. We reached an understanding with the administration as it relates to the number of exempt employees. So we are looking to do 40 to give the flexibility to whomever the new airport director will be. As you know, Shelley Cameron, who is an advocate for this, is no longer going to be with the airport. So Councilman Johnson, O'Neill, and actually Councilman Driscoll, I want to thank you, the mayor, for their inquiries about that and to reach what we think is a reasonable compromise. So thank you. We'll go over that. All in favor, unless there was another inquiry, okay, we'll move. All in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? We already skipped Councilman O. Resolution 220-197 has been amended. Resolution 220-197 as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar at the next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 220-594.
A resolution honoring the life and legacy of trailblazing attorney Bernard Lee for his contributions to the practice of law and his dedication to mentorship, family, and friends.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier for a motion.
Thank you, Council President, and I'd like to make a few brief comments before calling for the adoption. Bernard Lee was a trailblazing real estate lawyer. He's known by many of my colleagues and many throughout the city for his body of work. Today, we remember and honor Bernard for his success as a lawyer, but more importantly, for who he was as a person. Humble, kind, generous, and loving, with a wonderful sense of humor. Bernard dedicated his personal time to mentoring young lawyers, especially lawyers of color. His legacy will live on through his mentees, who will undoubtedly carry forth his generosity of spirit. Bernard's contributions left the legal profession better than he found it. However, he reserved his deepest attention for his family, whom he loved dearly, including his son, Mike Lee, a dedicated public servant working hard towards justice and public safety in our city, and who spoke so beautifully on behalf of his family during public comment. And with that, Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted. Mr.
Just
Decker.
a quick point, Council President.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Yeah, just for all the members, you know, we're trying to get through these presentations and these bills. If you could make sure that your phone and your screen, or whatever you're utilizing, is on mute, please, because it's very interrupting. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. I appreciate that more than you know. I'm sorry. Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 220-544.
A resolution.
I apologize, Mr. President. My screen keeps going off and on, and I don't know what the heck's going on here by that.
Get the
I will now be on mute.
Get the technology professionals to address that.
I am good now.
Mr. Decker, please read the title of resolution number 220544.
A resolution confirming the appointment of Sarah Ashley Andrews to the Board of Education of the School District of Philadelphia.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas. Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to take a moment to address this vote before we took the actual vote. Earlier this week, I sent around a memo to my colleagues communicating my position as it relates to the school board members and my intent today to vote no on the school board members. Having been a member of the Education Committee, being a current coach in the School District of Philadelphia, a parent of a student who attends the School District of Philadelphia, I wear a lot of hats as it relates to schools and our young people. And for me, the position that I sit in, I have a number of concerns. My first concern throughout the course of this initiative was the actual process in itself. We reached out to the administration to ask them to extend the deadline for nomination for school board members. That request was not met at all. We actually never got a response from the administration as it related to that. Once the nominees were selected in the past, there was a process predominantly led by our education chair, Councilmember Sanchez, to put us in a position to meet these folks and to have in-depth dialogue. And unfortunately, throughout the course of this process, that didn't happen. Since I've been on this legislative body, I've already taken a vote as it relates to city council members, and as it relates to school board members. And the first time I took that vote, I was very, very reluctant. And I was reluctant because I do not believe in the system that we have as it relates to a mayoral appointed school board. But I was convinced to vote for them by my interactions with Lisa Sally and Reginald Streeter, as well as Cecilia. And it's been a pleasure to work with them. They're all great folks. But at the same time, we don't always agree on the issues. I've reached out to the school board as it relates to Black and Brown-led institutions, specifically the closing of Black charters. We were assured that an investigation would take place. And while that investigation is taking place, we were assured that recommendations around Black-led institutions would not move the way they've been moving as of last Thursday. The recommendation from the charter office is one that's extremely disappointing, is a complete contradiction to the work that we've been doing, and is disingenuous to make such a recommendation prior to the independent investigators letting us know if these past practices have been discriminatory. On top of that, I passed the Keep It Local bill along with this legislative body, encouraging local government to help throughout the course of this recovery process by investing in local businesses. The School District of Philadelphia had a $66+ million contract to do cleaning. I sat on a 3-hour hearing and listened to the entire school board meeting and testified and asked that the school board revisit the contract and see what we can do to invest in local businesses. I know COVID has created some interesting conditions, but I don't know if those conditions have put us in a position where the people in Philadelphia have lost our ability to clean. So it's disappointing that that request was not met at all. It's disappointing that past requests have not been met. It's disappointing to learn that the school board is not supporting our janitors and engineers and bus staffers and student and aides who are asking for a specific type of training and support so they can do their job. So at the end of the day, this is not personal. Similar, what I'm saying in my testimony is that I've never met these folks who we are voting on as it relates to the school board decision today. So this is not personal against them. But I myself think that we need to move in a position where we're either going to have an elected school board or a hybrid school board, with those positions being a full-time job with the salary as well as benefits. So today I will be voting no on the school board members, and I just cannot support a system that doesn't have transparency, as well as a system that I don't believe in. I commend all the school board members for doing the work that they do, specifically because they're volunteers. I mean, it's a volunteer position and they do not get paid. So I commend them for that component of the job because it's literally a thankless job. But at the end of the day, I cannot continue to support a system that doesn't work, and I cannot continue to support a system that's not transparent and that's not accountable to this legislative body. City Council in the city of Philadelphia funds the school district in a matter that is so lucrative that we have sued the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania because they're not doing their fair share. The responsibility of education, according to the Constitution, lies in the desk of the state. And right now, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is not doing their part, and we're funding the schools in ways that we shouldn't have to. If we're going to step up to the plate and do that, the last thing that we should be worried about is transparency and accountability. So I'll be voting no. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues. And I want to give a special shout out to our education chair, Councilmember Sanchez, who's been phenomenal throughout the course of this process as it relates to working with the school district as well as the school board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I believe Councilman O wanted to be recognized.
Yes, thank you very much, Council President. I did read Councilmember Isaiah Thomas's letter, and it very much resonated with me as truthful and challenged me personally that am I doing my best or am I just kind of rubber stamping the process because I don't think there's much more I can do. I am very challenged and disappointed in the school district. From the constituents that I have, particularly those who are in the poorest performing school districts, who seem not to ever get what they are required to have under our Constitution. And it is more difficult because, as Councilmember Thomas has said, we have reached out to the school district, be it board members or be it the district staff. And we've had conversations, but I don't see a responsiveness. And decade after decade, the conditions appear to remain the same. I'm meeting with 200 parents who formed a group because their children are being beaten up and bullied and harassed and threatened in school. It's just one of many problems that continue to happen. I was just on the phone getting a location for 25 girls between the age of 11 and 15 who actually want self-defense classes, and 2 boys. It is challenging. We just dealt with the sudden time changes. It's a very unresponsive school district that beats on our door about funding. And yeah, we have to fund them, but we need a response on improvements. And I do understand it's a separate government, and but I do think that when I go onto the streets of Philadelphia, as all of you do, once we get past all of this, students, parents, families in the communities, many of them don't vote, quite frankly, they don't vote. But they are all very, very disappointed, and we see it in the reactions of young people protesting, rioting, shooting, the violence that we see in our communities. I do think we, as a council body, should be more engaged in the selection process. We get people that have been appointed by the administration a chance to hear from them, and that's about it. I would like to see greater responsiveness. And so for that reason, I will make a motion that we table the vote on these 2 resolutions to give it some time for the council members to engage with the chair and the leadership of this council and the administration and the school district to see if we can't come to a better level of communication. Thank you.
Council President, a point of information.
Yes, Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Yes, point of information. This is for Councilmember Sanchez in reference to the motion made by Councilmember O. As the education chair, I just want to get your perspective on what impact tabling will have on the school board in reference to their activities going forward.
We still have one other Thursday, and I am inclined to accept the motion presented by my colleague. I think that I know we're in budget process and a lot of things are crazy. I would not want to leave the school board at the end of this session without these two members, but out of respect for my colleagues and their advocacy and their consistent advocacy, I'm inclined to accept the motion, Council President Clark, and we can table this to next week.
Council, why don't you just hold the resolution?
Yes.
Tabling requires.
Hold it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. So yes, I accept that motion. Councilmember Green, does that respond to your
Yes,
point of
I just want to get a perspective. Thank you.
Resolution, and there's some inquiries that were not responded to. And we want to make sure that happens, and people can take a vote based on the response from those various parties. Thank you. So we're going to hold 220-544 until next week. And also,
thank you, Council. Real quick, I just want to say thank you, Council President, and thank you, colleagues, for your support on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, Mr. Decker, 220040.
A resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, providing for a preference in civil service examinations for any qualified graduate of a career technical education program in the School District of Philadelphia.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for an amendment to resolution number 220040.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I proceed with offering the amendment, I requested to be recognized for remarks.
You are recognized, Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, colleagues. I wanted to start by saying that I will be making this statement today relative to the amendment, but I will not make further statements today regarding this matter or engage in any debate. As you all know, since day one, I've been vigilant about the need to connect our young people to family-sustaining and supporting careers. With your help, colleagues, I've hosted hearings, created programs, and with the help and support of the trades, even developed Philadelphia's first apprenticeship guidebook. I developed a passion for workforce development early in my career. As a transitional math teacher at Overbrook High School, I came to truly understand that we need high-quality pathways for young people who are looking to enter the workforce after graduation. Sadly, for many of my students who were not going to college, their options were mostly minimum wage work. But one path that I saw provide real value for these young people is career and technical education. A skills-based education with an extra 1,080 hours of training allows for early career exposure, training, and development. Many young people find paths in these programs, and we want to be encouraging more young people to take these pathways. Our city workforce is also facing a crisis. Over 10,000 city workers are eligible for retirement in the next 5 years, nearly half of our workforce. We also continue to struggle with worker shortages created by the COVID-19 pandemic. One way to address this problem is by creating stronger pipelines into city jobs. That's exactly what the Civil Service Preferences legislation does. Introduced in January 2020, this legislation will amend the City Home Rule Charter to create a 5-point preference for qualified applicants who have completed a School District of Philadelphia career and technical education program within the last 3 years. The school district offers CTE programs in over 40 areas, and students graduate again with 1,080 hours of instruction. These programs range from automotive technology to plumbing. Over the last 2 years, and I'm going to repeat that, over the last 2 years, and after reviewing more than 900 city job descriptions, we found over 60 entry-level positions that are aligned with the skills and certifications offered in the School District of Philadelphia's CTE programs and the experience that a recent high school graduate likely has. I shared this list with each of you colleagues. These jobs have an average wage of $41,910, and almost all of them are represented by District Council 33, And I pause to thank you, President Ernest Garrett, for your testimony in support of this legislation. These are good jobs that can help young people start on a stable, family-sustaining career path. The city already offers 8 preferences to qualified applicants. I'm going to repeat that. The city already offers 8 preferences to qualified applicants. There is a 10-point preference for our veterans, and I thank them deeply, and I thank them humbly for their service. I would never do anything to disrespect a veteran. My father, who raised me from birth and adopted me from birth, was a veteran. My biological father is also a veteran. And my cousin Emlyn Tennell is a Coast Guard hero who saved the lives of 2 of his shipmates in the World War. There's a 10-point preference for children and grandchildren of firefighters and police officers who are killed in the line of duty. There's also a 10-point preference for current employees with 5 years of experience as a fire service paramedic and EMT when they apply to be a firefighter. Additionally, those who participated in a national service program like AmeriCorps can earn 1 to 5 points depending on their length of service. Young people who complete the Police Explorers program get an additional 3 points when they apply to become police officers. And those with proficiency in a language other than English can also receive additional points. This bill is a time-limited 5-point preference for career and technical education graduates, and it is fully in line with those other preferences that I have named and sent to all of you in writing. Additionally, the Office of Human Resources recognizes the value of CTE programs. A number of positions, including trades helper, engineering aide, and automotive apprentice, list district CTE programs as relevant or preferred experience, and students who complete the EMT fire program get a 3-point preference when they apply. Despite the clear alignment between our city's workforce needs and this legislation, it has generated significant controversy. Some of our colleagues and representatives of veterans organizations believe creating a new preference inherently harms those who already receive preferences. The city offers 10 points to U.S. military veterans and their spouses who honorably served our country, and they learn significant and in-demand skills during their service. By awarding a 10-point preference, we are rightly recognizing the value of our veterans and the value that they bring to our city workforce, and we are complying with state law. This legislation would not in any way impact or change this preference. Most veterans who seek employment with the City of Philadelphia apply to serve as police officers, and the CTE preference would not apply to any police department positions. Additionally, veterans typically have more experience than recent high school graduates. And to clarify, again, this bill would only give a point preference to CTE graduates up to 3 years after high school graduation. It is rare that a veteran with years of service would apply to the same entry-level apprenticeship, trainee, or aide position as a young person less than 3 years out of high school. Despite these factors, I still receive significant opposition from representatives from veterans groups. So I engaged with them to determine if there was a compromise. And during our latest conversation on Friday, June 3rd, the veterans offered the idea to note in the bill that if a CTE student and veteran apply for the same position and are up for the same position, only a veteran will benefit from their point preference. I thought it was a great idea, and I thought it was a great compromise. And I incorporated that amendment into this recent round of amendments. Again, even though this amendment was offered by the veterans group representatives who were on the call, who participated in our meeting, they are still not happy with the legislation. It is clear that despite my best efforts, I will not be able to reach consensus. We just have a fundamental difference of opinion in how the city awards preferences. My CTE civil service preferences legislation has only one goal, and it has always had only one goal: to provide a targeted benefit to young people with high demand skills to create a pipeline to public service. We know Philadelphia is facing many challenges. We remain the largest poor city in America. We are struggling with gun violence, and that's highly correlated to unemployment. Our workforce is rapidly aging, and the pandemic has shifted the current employment landscape significantly. In order to address these challenges, we need smart policies that help Philadelphia's young people find opportunities to earn family-supporting and sustaining wages and bring new talent into our city's workforce. Providing a targeted preference is just one important way to do this. Today, I am amending these bills to include the idea presented by the veterans and to offer other technical amendments. I know many of you have received emails about this, and you know my staff and I have contacted each of your offices individually. One, I apologize that you received those messages, as I attempted, as always, to be in contact with every colleague via phone and email. I also had my team members drop off packets to each one of your offices. And while I know at times we must agree to disagree, I disavow the tactics that have been used against me related to this bill. I would never treat another person, and particularly another colleague, in this manner. Because James and Pastor Lorraine Jenkins Gilmore did not raise me in that way. And that is not a part of my value system, and it is not who I am. There is a better way to be a colleague, and I hope in the future that is displayed. Everyone talks about creating opportunity for our city's young people. And I know one of the best crime prevention tools is a family supporting and sustaining career. Well, here's an opportunity to provide a pathway at a time when our young people need it most, and at a time when our city is in great need of new workers. It is my hope that you can vote in favor of the amendments as presented today, while recognizing that we can honor the service and sacrifice of those who serve our country and help young people who need pathways to sustainable employment at the same time. And as Bishop Luke stated this morning, I know that all things will work together for the good. Thank you for your consideration of the amendment for this legislation. And thank you, Council President, for your leeway. And with that, I would like to offer an amendment to resolution number 200040. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second. Before we see, Councilman O, did you want to be recognized?
Yes, thank you, Council President.
You're recognized, Councilman O.
The reason why this is so controversial, and the reason why it's so difficult, and the reason why this has taken 2 years, is because veterans are organized into groups where they easily communicate with each other. The largest groups consist of hundreds of thousands of members across the nation and across the globe. The active duty military, the Reserve, the National Guard, and all veterans groups, their families, spouses, widows, widowers, children, and so forth. Under the federal law, there is a requirement that veterans receive a preference. That comes after a long history of war, suffering, and discrimination. It happens to all veterans, regardless of race, regardless of age, and nowadays regardless of gender. The veteran's preference is in response to society not hiring veterans after their service. And therefore, those veterans are very protective of this benefit. And as they watch preferences being distributed, because the only legal preference, the only preference that has withstood court challenges in the Supreme Court is the veteran's preference. It is a very difficult thing to get veterans as a group to agree to these type of distribution of benefits. Every individual has a different point of view. We can find individuals from any group with a variety and conflicting views. But veterans are very uniform and committed. And I would explain just briefly their perspective. And it's a matter of perspective. Everybody has a right to their points of view, but I just like to explain that no one can force a person to be a police officer, firefighter, school teacher, bricklayer, or construction worker. Nobody can force you to do that. However, our government can force you to go to war. You can be drafted and you can be sent to war. And we have not had a draft in the last 49 years. But people alive today have been drafted against their will at the age of 18. They have gone to war. And their friends have died. And their friends are homeless. And their friends have suffered. And they could not get jobs. They were discriminated against. And that continues today. So they're very protective over this. It is not for them personally. They're protective over future veterans. And for those who don't understand that, I can only say, there are things that I don't understand, but I understand how much it means to somebody else. When I first got elected, there was an issue about skateboarding on memorials. And I understood that the young people skateboarding on the Vietnam Memorial and the Korea Memorial, what difference did it make? Nobody was there. But to those who built it and those who paid for it and those who erected it, it is a sacred space, sacred. It's hallowed ground. And preference points are hallowed. And they are not just points about hiring. It is about the fact that it is a level playing field. And when you account for veterans' preference point, that is part of the level. It is being called upon or volunteering to serve your nation at risk to your life and risk to your friend's life, leaving your family and undergoing the training and being put at any moment's notice to have a devastating effect on you personally, physically, mentally, or otherwise. 20 years from now or 10 years from now, whether grandchildren or children of ours will be called to serve with no choice but to serve and come back and face what many of our veterans have faced upon their return home. That's why they are so adamantly, emotionally, you could even say unreasonably committed to protecting those preference points. Agree or disagree with them, I'm simply saying it is a very difficult thing to change their perspective on this issue. And that's all I want to say when it comes to the issue of understanding or not understanding. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, the vote for the amendment on Bill number 20040, resolution rather, was moved and properly seconded. All in favor of the amendment? Say
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it. Resolution 200040 has been amended, and resolution number 200040 as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar for our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 200006A.
An ordinance providing for the submission of the qualified electors of the city of Philadelphia of an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to provide for a preference in civil service examinations for any qualified graduate of a career technical education program in the school district of Philadelphia, as approved by resolution of the city council.
Thank you. The chair can recognize this Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for an amendment to bill number 200006A.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer an amendment to Bill number 200006A. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it. Bill number 200006A has been amended, and bill number 200006A as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 200007.
An ordinance amending chapter 201100 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Civil Service Preferences to provide for a civil service preference for qualified graduates of career technical education programs in the school district of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for an amendment to bill number 200007.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer an amendment to Bill number 200007. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Ayes have it, and bill number 200007 has been amended. Bill number 200007 as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 210740.
An ordinance amending chapter 9-1000 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Trades and chapter 9-3000 entitled Sheet Metal Technician to create a license requirement for mechanical system contractors and to modify licensing requirements applicable to sheet metal systems technicians.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for an amendment to bill number 210740.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I would like to offer an amendment to bill number 210740. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. We move and probably second. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. And bill number 210740 has been amended. Bill number 210740 as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 220504.
An ordinance amending section 12-2700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Permit Parking Districts by amending the boundaries for certain permit parking districts.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Winona Sanchez for an amendment to bill number 220504.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to offer an amendment to Bill 220504. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. And bill number 220504 has been amended. Bill number 220504 as amended will be placed on our final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of bill number 220517.
An ordinance authorizing the installation, ownership, and maintenance of various encroachments in the vicinity of 1 Convention Avenue.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier for an amendment to bill number 220517.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to offer an amendment to Bill number 220517. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council. I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. And Bill number 220517 has been amended. Bill number 220517 as amended will be placed on a final pass to calendar our next session of council. Mr. Decker, any additional resolutions?
We have an additional bill and then no additional resolutions, Mr. Keller, Mr. President.
Please
Bill
read that title.
220523. Bill number 220523. This was removed from the consent agenda. An ordinance amending section 12903 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Stopping, Standing, or Parking Prohibited at Certain Times to provide for regulation of such activity along Washington Avenue in the vicinity, in the city of Philadelphia.
This bill has been read on 2 different days. The question now, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brooks is voting aye. Councilman Dom.
Aye.
Councilman Driscoll.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gautier.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gim.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Jones.
Aye.
Councilman O.
Nay.
Councilman O'Neill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quinones Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilman Squilla.
Aye.
Councilman Thomas.
Aye.
Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 16, the nays are 1. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. There are no other bills and resolutions, so that concludes our calendar for today. We will now move to our speeches. Prior to recognizing members regarding speeches, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available on Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this particular purpose. That said, there's speeches on behalf of the minority. Not seeing any. Speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have comments regarding 2 issues today. The first, Mr. President, is the resolution that I offered today regarding the city of Philadelphia formally establishing a committee to plan a Philly-based HBCU Classic. Need to clarify a couple of things for the record. To those of you who have already responded, thank you so very much. However, it does not matter which historically Black college or university you graduated from. You could be one of the 37 UNCF schools. Those are the private historically Black colleges and universities. Or you could be one of the 47-member Thurgood Marshall College Fund schools. That's like the Cheney and the Lincoln. Cheney is a state institution. Lincoln University is a state-related institution. It does not matter as long as you are part of one of the 228,000 students or affiliates in this area of those 107 HBCUs. We want you to be engaged. When you send an email, it is Sherelle.Parker@phila.gov. Or you can, don't even worry about that. Just go straight to council's website, city council's website, and just click on the link. When you send an email, if you are a general supporter, just click general. However, if you are a friend of, attended, a graduate of, please include the HBCU that you are a graduate of. That's the first issue. The second issue, Mr. President, is bore from this resolution, and it's also bore from Councilmember Johnson's resolution today, or bill, regarding the street naming. And you can't talk about Lincoln University football or even Central High School football without mentioning the name of the late, great Dr. Frank Tick Coleman. The only reason why, Mr. President, that first generation college attendees and graduates like me, who weren't products of very wealthy families, were able to complete Lincoln is because Dr. Coleman was our connection to scholarships, alum, and just folks who were able to help you with that bridge money when you had exhausted your student loans and scholarships. If Karen Nicholas and Charlene Roberson are listening right now, please note for the record that I have thanked Council Member Johnson for this. Council Member Johnson, we appreciate you. We want everyone to know that his name is Dr. Frank Tick Coleman, the Venerable Mr. Lincoln. He is the one who would lead us in our alma mater. And Mr. President, he wasn't a part of an orchestra, but when he would sing it, he would always have his hands in the air to keep us going. So we are excited about that. He was also a proud member of Omega Psi Phi, and he would let you know that he was a part of the Beta chapter, at Lincoln University. And don't call him a Q. He would give you a diplomatic look, but then he would say, I'm an Omega man. That's who Dr. Frank Tick Coleman was. So, Councilmember Johnson, if I can carry the water, help set up the stage, or move a chair, you let me know whatever it is that I need to do, because LU and our Alumni Association will be out in full force to support your effort. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. The chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank Councilmember Parker for her work in reference to trying to support this HBCU Classic. I remember as she was talking, I was thinking about the Wade Wilson Classics of yesteryear. I won't say which team would win the Wade Wilson Classics of yesteryear because that would get me in trouble. But I also want to thank Councilmember Johnson for honoring the esteemed Dr. Frank Tick Coleman, man of Omega Psi Phi, and also as Councilmember Parker was talking about traveling to New York, it made me think of the Whitney Young Classic, which my father for numerous years attended as a proud attendee of Morgan State University, and my wife being a graduate of North Carolina Central University. So I want to thank her for lifting up historically Black college universities and also clarifying that distinction, which sometimes becomes challenging as we talk about our historically Black college universities. I just want to take a few moments to just talk about some of the things over the past couple of days. This morning, and I think a number of my colleagues know that I try to get some exercise early in the morning and do a run, a couple miles. My receipts were challenged by some of the members of the Public Safety Committee, which I did provide some information that I did get up early this morning to work out, to run, even though we had a very late evening last night. And I do that because it gives me an opportunity to really just think and reflect on what, the things I'm doing for the day, the week, the things that we're all dealing with as members of this body. And as I was doing my run this morning, and it started off as the light was coming up, and then all of a sudden we had a heavy downpour, and then it got calm. And even during that run, I was debating, should I continue this run in the rain? But I kind of decided to press on. And it made me think about the budget season that we have been going through. And it started with the thinking we have the ability to really address a lot of significant issues in our city with the American Rescue Plan dollars that we had not fully spent and allocated as we went through this budget process. And then we got into I would say, a very heavy downpour as the administration's Office of Property Assessment did very significant assessments, which would have raised real estate taxes for constituents all over the city of Philadelphia. And also we were hearing from a lot of our small businesses who were still struggling to stay open, especially our Black and brown businesses. So we were in a very challenging time period, like as I was trying to get to my run this morning as it was raining pretty heavily. But then we came to a calm, and I came to a calm as I came to the end of my run this morning, and that reminded me of what happened yesterday evening. I've been fortunate enough to be a member of this legislative body, but I've also worked for this legislative body, and I've been in and around the city council for close to 20 years. And what happened last night is probably the first time that I can recall that this legislative body voted on measures to reduce real estate taxes for citizens, reduce wage taxes, and also reduce business taxes that can impact our small businesses. This is the first time I can recall that we as a body voted to reduce and take on measures to reduce real estate taxes, reduce wage taxes for people in the city of Philadelphia, and reduce the business taxes, especially for small businesses, especially the Black and brown businesses that have been really impacted by the pandemic. I'll say it one more time. This is the first time that I can recall that this body in one vote did measures to reduce real estate taxes that would impact our citizens, as well as wage taxes, and also address our small businesses by trying to and doing reductions of taxes. And this proposal that came together, and I helped put together a schedule to look at this proposal, which really was a compromise on a lot of different things. And it wasn't just, I kind of put the schedule together, but it really was a compromise effort by a number of people, a number of organizations. I want to thank the Inclusive Growth Coalition, which is a really diverse group of organizations from all over, from OIC to the Urban League of Philadelphia, to the Laborist District Council, and to the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce that came together that said we don't have to pit one group against another group, and that we can collectively come together to help citizens and small businesses in the city of Philadelphia. But even before they came together, I really want to thank the diverse chambers for coming together. The African American Chamber of Commerce, the Asian American Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Independent Business Alliance. We're coming together as a group, working collectively and really crying out for their members who are small businesses that have been decimated by this pandemic. And many were really struggling and are still struggling to stay afoot and to provide jobs in neighborhoods all around the city of Philadelphia. From a staff perspective, I just want to thank Bob McDermott and Ami Patel and for answering all of my emails and text messages at very early and late hours. I said I run in the morning, so sometimes my staff knows this. I may get an idea and I send a text or email. But I want to thank them for helping to pull together the various numbers to come to this compromise. Also want to thank Rob DeBow and the administration. We reached out yesterday to kind of give them some information on this compromise, and to hear that the administration was okay with that yesterday was good to hear that as well. But I also want to thank members of this council, members that were willing to be on late night Zoom calls after all of our activities that we do throughout the day. I wanted to thank, Council Members Squilla and Driscoll and Jones and Bass for being on those calls. I want to thank the African American Chamber of Commerce and their partners for bringing us together to at least have these conversations virtually. But I want to specifically mention 3 members of council that, from my perspective, really instrumental in helping this come together. I'll call them the expert, the communicator, and the conscience. Now, when I say expert, I'm talking about Councilmember Dom for giving lots of information about real estate taxes and using all of his background information and his history in this industry for helping provide information. the communicator, Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson, for really keeping us all informed about what was happening and the perspectives of various members of council. And also, I would say the conscious, which is Councilmember Isaiah Thomas, who really kept focusing on the perspective of we've got to help all people, both citizens and small businesses, and coming together collectively. And if it was not for all of these members and their thoughts and all these organizations, I could not even thought about an idea of a budget schedule that could possibly even work once we got the numbers together. So I just want to make these statements to thank all of the members of this body that came together in a strong majority. And we're willing to not get into what we traditionally see as a them versus us. And this is what I think is a real challenge, not only in our city, but in our state and our nation, where we're too often pitting people against each other just because they may have a difference of opinion. And I think we've got to move collectively and how we move our city forward in reference to growth. That's growth in reference to providing the services for all citizens in the city of Philadelphia as we struggle to deal with public safety issues and concerns and all the things we're trying to do as a body, to giving citizens a little bit more dollars back in their pockets as we're dealing with inflation and the cost of goods going up, and also helping our small businesses who are really trying to do the best that they can to continue to provide goods and services as a small business and put food on the table for their families and also for the families of their employees. So I just want to thank all of the various members of this body that came together. We still have a lot more work to do, but the fact that we were able to not pit people against each other regardless of their perspectives and thoughts, and there'll be those that disagree with some of these positions, but that's okay, as long as we continue to work together collectively and move forward and incorporate all of those ideas as we try to move our city forward. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. I want to jump back to speeches on behalf of the minority and recognize Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to just echo what Councilman Green started with and his 20 years of staff and council member budgets. I only go back to, humbly speaking, to the 1980 budget, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. But I also want to add, it takes a whole council to make this happen, but it wouldn't happen without the council president, and because you pretty much control a whole lot of what Councilman Green described, and allowing first-term members to participate at the level that they do. You couldn't participate in your fourth term not that many years ago, and particularly at that level, but I mean participate at all. So I just want to thank you and all the members for coming together on this, because it is truly a budget that covers more bases, and pretty much all the bases that we usually miss a few of. So I just want to add that, because it's a lot longer than just 20 years since this has happened.
Thank you, Councilman. Good thing to be together. Chair recognizes the majority. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gibbon.
Thank you very much, Council President. On Tuesday, Philadelphia schools rang their final bell of the academic year. And over the last 2 weeks, thousands of seniors have walked across the stage to the cheers of their families to receive their diploma and start a new chapter in their lives. It was an honor to have joined so many school communities, 7 graduations, in fact, and to have seen well over 1,000 students personally graduate in the last week alone. They do more than carry the dreams and hopes of their families with them. They carry the hopes and dreams of our entire city. They walk in the footsteps of high schoolers who have made history, and it is indeed young people right now, their age, who are on the front line solving some of the world's greatest problems. It was also wonderful to see auditoriums, football fields, even the Met, completely filled with families who believe in the potential of public education, who entrusted their children to us and to whom we owe everything possible to honor, celebrate, and uplift the infinite potential of our youth. And while the final bell of the school year signals hope and opportunity for a new generation, for far too many young people in our city, summertime is a time of uncertainty. Yesterday, in our Committee on Children and Youth, we heard from students across Philadelphia as part of the Enough is Enough coalition, sharing their experience with gun violence and also what they expect from us as city leaders. I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Thomas, who brought their research to the highest levels of government and to our municipal hearing yesterday. These young people conducted a survey of Philadelphia students and found that nearly 40% reported having nothing to do in their neighborhoods for fun. 95% can't name a resource in their community to prevent gun violence. 61% of them asked for supports for families impacted by gun violence, particularly mental health resources. And 57% asked for more mental health counselors and supports in their schools. In the words of Haja Donzo, a student at Universal Audenried, we don't want to worry that our lives will be taken on our way to school or work. We don't want to see so many empty seats at our graduation because they didn't live to see their senior year. So earlier this week, the School District of Philadelphia released a 12-minute tribute to the students who are lost in this past academic year. There are 88 names on that list. And I would like our council body to take a little bit of time to honor those students, after which I would ask for a moment of silence. Jamilis Torres, Amy at James Martin. Elena Thatch, Alney. Natasha Wayne, Bache Martin Elementary. Shanice Wayne, Bache Martin Elementary. Sally Wang, Baldy Middle School. Christopher Braxton, Bartram High School. Kanye Rice, Bartram High School. Caleb Johnson, Boys Latin. Amir Williams, Central High School. Aiden Joel Brown, Community Academy. Tania Gaines Miles, Cook Wissahickon Elementary School. Kaylin Gallagher, Dobson Elementary. Samir Johnson, Edison High School. Dominic Richardson, Edison High School. Nasir Allen, El Centro. Levon Kennedy, El Centro. Jay Flores, El Centro. Yadriel Arroyo Santana, Elkin Elementary. Yamalir Arroyo Santana, Elkin Elementary. Alex Angel Arroyo Santana, Stetson Charter School. Antoine Terry, Elwood Elementary. Jesus Gomez Rosario, Esperanza Academy Charter School. Bianca Tamayo, Esperanza Academy Charter School. Kames Solomon, Excel Academy North. Sherrod Muldor, Excel Academy South. Lionel Samuels, Excel Academy South. Andrea de los Santos Estevez, Excel Academy South. Zahir Bowie, Fells High School. Kyrie Isaac, Fells High School. Samir Tolbert Pons, Frankfurt High School. Becky Bradley, Gateway to College. Sean Guyton, School of the Future. Regina Witchard, School of the Future. Destiny McDonald, Inside PA Cyber Charter. Heaven Rodriguez Vasquez, Mariana Brissetti Charter School. Tahir Brown, Thurgood Marshall Elementary School. Jamel Parks, Mastery Charter at Smedley. Tommy Frazier III, Mastery Charter at Gratz. Terry Thompson, McMichael Elementary. Jama Upchurch, Motivation High School. Jonathan Brown, Northeast High School. Brooklyn Bay, Northeast Community Propel Academy. Leonard Friedman, Overbrook High School. Stephen Griffin, Overbrook High School. Jakah House, People for People Charter School. Quinton Tate McDonald, Philadelphia Electrical and Technical Charter School. Kayana Woods Maria, Philadelphia Learning Academy South. Basile Garrison, Philadelphia Learning Academy South. Jalen Jones, Philadelphia Learning Academy South. Sabria Gaiman, Randolph Technical High School. Ajan Jackson, Randolph Technical High School. Marcus Stokes, Rhodes Elementary School. Thomas Sidiero, Charswood Elementary School. Kenai Rodriguez Geronimi, Solace Cohen Elementary School. Kevin Wade Jr., South Philadelphia High School. Allie Tharp, South Philadelphia High School. Kanye Davis, Strawberry Mansion High School. Nakima Saunders, Strawberry Mansion High School. Takai Betts, Swenson Arts and Technology. James Brazil, Swenson Arts and Technology. Noah Stewart, the U School. Angie Sainville Jr., George Washington High School. Nikolai James, West Oak Lane Charter School. Dejan Melendez, Widener Memorial School. Quincia White, Yes Philly. Siani Hammond, Youth Build. William Bryant, Ad Prima Charter School. Tajay Walls, Cook-Wissahickon Elementary. Kuram Shahzad, Decatur Elementary. Kamaj Rood, Excel Academy South. Ezekiel Santos Suarez, Fells High School. Tyre Adams, Finletter Elementary. Zayden Lewis, Hardy Williams Academy Charter School. Aminata Sila, Imhotep Charter School. Zakira Fountain, John B. Kelly Elementary School. Steve Green, Kip Dubois Charter School. Daquan Robinson, Mastery Charter School at Clymore. Rasheed Clement, Mastery Charter School at Gratz. Lashana Fisher, Mastery Charter School at Pickett. Samir Jones, Mastery Charter School at Pickett. Nashim Choice, Mastery Charter School at Thomas. Jaime Padilla Serrano, Morrison Elementary. Ramon Rodriguez, Munoz Marin Elementary. Princeton Bacon, Northeast Community Propel Academy. Nasir Brooks, Overbrook High School. Juan Carlos Robles Corona, Tanner Duckery Elementary School. And Madison Patrick Ziegler Elementary School. Could we take a moment of silence for these young people and to honor them and their families?
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. My final comment is that our city can't rise if we leave our children, our families, and our schools behind. In a city where 37% of young people live in poverty, our whole purpose is to ensure they don't spend one more day in it, and most definitely do not impoverish them further with decrepit schools, closed libraries, or dirty streets. That is our charge, and I'm proud to be part of a council that will live it. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gauthier.
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to appreciate Councilmember Gim for making space to recognize all of the young people that we lost. And I hope, I feel and I hope that we're building the type of city where that doesn't repeat itself as we move forward. I wanted to offer comment on the budget that we voted out of committee last night. I feel most proud of the proposed increased investments in quality of life services in the budget. And I just wanted to note that if we pass this budget, we'll be expanding resources for illegal dumping, action, and enforcement. We'll be growing our capacity to fix and maintain streetlights. We'll be giving L&I more capacity to remedy blighted properties and nuisance businesses. We'll be putting many, many more resources into traffic calming and hopefully also creating more neighborhood slow zones, and increasing our ability to get abandoned cars off of the streets, among other items. I also think that what we're doing for Parks and Rec is notable, as you know, every single year we fight for more funding for Parks and Rec, and this year it feels like we're finally taking at least a small step forward. And so by my count, we've added over 26 million in operating and capital line items that will really improve the look and feel of our neighborhoods. It's been a very tough 2.5 years in our city, not just in regards to the violence, as we just heard, but in regards to the look and feel of the city too. And I think that these are important investments to let people in our neighborhoods know that we are there with them, and that we care about them. And with these resources, I hope that we can not only do better on delivering city services, but on the equitable delivery of those services. A recent report from our controller clearly pointed out the drastic disparities between 311 service calls that come from Center City and those that come from majority Black and Brown neighborhoods in our city, particularly those neighborhoods most struggling with gun violence. And at the same time, research from Philly's own Dr. Eugenia South and others show that these type of investments can dramatically reduce shootings. And so now that we will likely have more money in the budget, it's up to us as a city to act on the things that we know, and to help the neighborhoods that are most in need during this moment. And so I just want to thank all my colleagues for their support and votes on these important items. And I look forward to moving forward and seeing these services at play in our neighborhoods.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. It's about 2:50. I don't know if we broke any records with how long this council session is lasting, but I'm not going to be too much longer. I want to start by thanking my colleagues, Councilmember Green and Councilmember O'Neill. I definitely appreciate your remarks, as well as the support from other council colleagues to be able to put us in a position to get some phenomenal wins. I just want to contextualize a couple things, similar to what my colleagues did. When I think about this budget, I first start with the funding for the commissioner's office. When you think about the city of Philadelphia and the importance of elections, not just in Philadelphia, but the impact that our vote has on the city, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, especially considering our November election, and more importantly, the presidential election of the United States, it's imperative that we fully fund our elections and put us in a position where people can cast their vote in a fair and safe way. And throughout the course of this budget, we did that. We're not quite sure where that will land or what direction we'll go in, but we might have saved democracy with our vote last night. So I commend you, colleagues, because it's a thankless job and it's something that's really important. My colleague talked earlier about parks and recs and libraries. I've been screaming and hollering at the top of my lungs as it relates to parks and recs since I've been a member of council. And we finally are in a position to be able to add more dollars to our parks and recs budget as well as our libraries and put ourselves in a position to be able to hopefully provide more services and resources to young people in the city of Philadelphia. We have a shortage of free programs. We have a shortage of safe programs. And we have a shortage of employment opportunities for our teens. I'm excited about the infrastructure investment as well as the dollars that's going to L&I. That's really important. But I'm also excited about some of the tax initiatives that we have. When you look at what the pandemic taught us, as legislators, our most important job is to pass a responsible budget. The pandemic taught us as a city, and a lot of us knew it before, that we rely too much on our wage tax. So our vote today to reduce the wage tax is partly about giving dollars back to the citizens of Philadelphia, but it's most importantly trying to put us in a position where we do not rely on our wage tax in a way that's irresponsible and puts us in jeopardy. When the pandemic hit, we lost more money than any big city in the entire country besides Detroit. Coming out of the pandemic, our job growth is parallel with Detroit's, and it's putting us in a position where we are growing at a very slow rate. We're crawling right now. So I'm excited about our vote today, not just around wage, but also around our BERT tax cut, because at the end of the day, the small cut that we made will have a huge impact on small businesses across the city of Philadelphia. I read a story in one of our local papers that talked about the BERT cut. And one of the things that people don't realize about the BERT tax is that the bulk of that BERT tax is being paid by small businesses. Small businesses. When you're a big business and you're a big corporation, you often generate revenue outside of the city of Philadelphia. And when you generate revenue as a big business outside of the city of Philadelphia, you're essentially not obligated to pay the BERT tax on that revenue that you essentially generate. But when I think about my brother's barbershop or beauty salons and some of the other smaller Black businesses in the city of Philadelphia, they're not generating revenue outside of the city. Every dollar that they bring in, we're taxing them on it. And people are making a decision every single day whether I should leave this city or whether I should stay here and continue to do my business here. So I think that it was important for us to take the steps that we did and put ourselves in a position where we could send a signal to everybody that Philadelphia is open for business. We were able to accomplish this without cutting any services. If anything, we were able to increase services, and we were able to do this all in a responsible way, while also protecting homeowners as it relates to assessments and increases on real estate, and making sure that we still have the dollars for our schools, our children, and the other OST-based initiatives. So I thank you, colleagues. I'm very, very proud of where we are. And I would just want to close out by saying something similar to what Councilmember Gim said as it relates to the young people. The Enough is Enough hearing was amazing. It was extremely informative. And if anybody cares about gun violence in the city of Philadelphia, which I know this legislative body does, we need to adopt the recommendations of the young people, which included meeting with them monthly and including them in decisions related to youth and related to violence. I'm committed to it. I know my other council colleagues are committed to it, and I'm excited for our vote today, but I recognize that we still have to wake up tomorrow and get to work because we have a lot more to do. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues. Today is a good day, but tomorrow will be even better.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate it. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to repeat what I said last night at 11 p.m. that I am honored to work with the diversity that this council has, not just in race, but in ideology. We go all the way up and down the spectrum, but that diversity is our strength. This budget represents not or, but and. And we can take care of those in need, people in poverty, and we can take advantage of tax reductions for small businesses that are the backbone of the commercial corridors in the city of Philadelphia. And we can prioritize programs to end gun violence, increase education, and get it done for the first time in the last 20 years without trying to make a dollar out of 50 cents. The only thing that I would say to my colleagues is, yes, the work is not done, but guess what? Anything that we have left on the table, anything that we have left unfunded, we still have an opportunity to go work with our colleagues at the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania state level, because they have a projected $10 billion surplus. And they are more than willing to work with us because, to be cynical, you know, the midterms are coming, the next governor is coming. What are you saving it for? If it ain't raining today, when do you think it's going to be raining more? And so we need to keep pushing for things like what we're doing with our infrastructure. Still got a lot of work to do there. What we are doing with our crime lab and getting a new one of those. Let's not leave that money on the table, because this is a once in a 10-year opportunity, as Councilman O'Neill said, to be able to do the and as opposed to the or. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. I believe that concludes the speeches on behalf of the minority and the majority. So unlike last night when I was not the presiding officer over a council session, I did speak, but I am the presiding officer over the council session today, so I won't give a speech. But I do want to take a moment to obviously thank all of you for your hard work, but more importantly is that, like a number of you all, got to recognize the staff, not only in city council, but the staff over there on the other side of the ledger, the executive branch, but the interaction between the staff got us to a point where we came out what we believe is a comprehensive and a pretty good budget as it relates to being able to deal under these very challenging times. So got to really thank those staffers that they did some really hard work. I appreciate it. So I will save my speech for tomorrow. Next week, and I'll break the time-honored council rule as presiding over the council's presiding officer of the council session. I'll give my speeches then. So right now, I would like to recognize Majority Whip, Councilman Jones, for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, June 23rd, 2022 at 10 a.m.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. The council stand adjourned until Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, 10 a.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Be safe. Love you guys.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Stay.
Thank you, CP. Happy Father's Day.